This is NXT superstar Dexter Lumis, and I want you to do me a favor. Check out good mic work commentaries on YouTube. Listen to the podcast, subscribe. And if you don't, we're gonna have a problem.
We are back after over a week absence here on the YouTube channel. Back at you. What's up, everyone? Good mic work has returned. So, like I said, I've been gone a week. Has anything interesting happened? To me, it looked like it was a pretty slow news week, so there's really nothing to talk about tonight. So I figured we would probably just discuss our favorite Men on a Mission matches and then call it a night. What do you think? So go ahead and shoot me with your favorite Men on a Mission matches in the comments, because that is going to dominate the podcast tonight. And then we're going to get out of here. Should be about a 10-minute long show. Looking forward to it. Anyway, I joke, I kid. Holy shit, did I pick a hell of a week to go on vacation. Everything went apeshit haywire while I was gone, to where I could literally fill about 4 podcasts with this stuff. And I appreciate everybody's patience this week, those who were tweeting me things and talking to me through social media while I was gone, trying to, get a grasp on all of this bombshell news that's been dropping on us for the past, I guess, around 2 weeks now, ever since the Bryan Danielson and CM Punk rumors kind of leaked to AEW. It's been batshit insane ever since then, and the news is just not slowing down. So I got back from vacation yesterday, but in order to come up tomorrow or last night for a Raw review, I would have really been rushing it, especially since I have a lot of notes and a lot of things I need to write down and discuss with you guys. So I figured it was best to just hang out and wait one more day, come up on a Tuesday night. Very rare Tuesday night. I'm never home on Tuesdays, but I've got an extra buffer day after my vacation before I head back to work tomorrow. So tonight is going to have to be the night. Hopefully you guys can kick back and relax, because this is probably going to be a relatively long podcast. We got lots to get into, lots of wrestling results, although I'm not going to focus on that, just kind of the bare bones basics. I only eyeballed NXT tonight, so just a couple of things we'll talk about there. I did watch all of Raw last night, hated 90% of the show except for the main event. And, of course, last week's Dynamite wasn't that bad, and we got a big show coming up tomorrow and some huge AEW news regarding Chicago, the United Center, CM Punk, Rampage, that whole deal. Exciting, exciting stuff. And the wave of WWE departures in Bray Wyatt and Ric Flair being added to the released list, and a big mistake by WWE letting Adam Cole's contract fall through the cracks, and now this motherfucker is going to be a free agent in a matter of weeks, and he's holding all the cards. Amazing amount of leverage this dude has now. So it's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan. I'm a little bit disappointed I wasn't here all week long to do videos on all this shit, but we're going to have to cram it all in here in one big fat ass episode, and I'm going to be busy at work most of this week as well, but I've got Sunday night free, so we're going to be up here doing something. Might be another podcast, might be a watch along, not sure yet, because Saturday is out for the Winged Eagle. So yikes, that's a lot of information to take in there, but I appreciate you sitting through that. Hello to everybody in the chat that was waiting for me, and thank you. Mabel versus Undertaker. Yeah, that was not a bad one. Thank you, as everybody was waiting for me here in the chat. I completely forgot that NXT had an overrun. I wanted to go up live after NXT, and I scheduled the podcast for about 5 after, but NXT ran longer, so I tried to time it exactly right for you guys. Good to see some monkey wrenches in here, like How Wheezy, like Diet Vodka. Good to see you, Ryan. Stone Cold is here. JL, Christian, Broken Egg, Jet the Hawk, Ben, Ungovernable, Kyle Cammons, David Brown, welcome back, my friend. Zane G, Ben Forbes, and Ben Espinoza. Good to see both of you guys here. Bruce, welcome back. Kyle, and we got Tyrone Washington. Deshaun Robinson is back, another monkey wrench, and George Morris with the $5. Hey, Greg, how was your vacation? WWE is its worst state in 37 years. I've been watching. It's not going to get better. Shannon Doherty arrested. Be safe. I always love your comments, dude. Yeah, your comment there is basically going to be infused in this entire podcast tonight. We're going to be talking a lot about WWE and a lot of things going on and how this is going to affect, the wrestling landscape. What the hell is going on in this company in general, and just what a strange state that we're in right now. And it's, it's half disappointing and half really, really exciting. And it's an interesting time to be a fan, as you can clearly see with a lot of things going down. And I'm just happy that it's clear now that we clearly have two options, and that's really nice. An upstart company, not even 2 years old yet, has done a tremendous job. And with the ticket sales so far for this Rampage show they're doing on Friday night of SummerSlam weekend, they're going to sell out the fucking United Center, and that ain't bad for a company that ain't even 24 months old yet. So we've got two now. That's good. That's all good news. But it's also mixed in with a lot of bad because, it's not all just sunshine and rainbows either. George, thank you, man. Ratnick is here. Domination Warriors back. So is Dre L, Alex Crawford, BC Cerebrus. We got Joshua Super Fluffy Toaster, Miguel Zarate, and we got a $50 super chat. Extremely generous from Sane G. Thank you very much for that, my friend. Hey, Greg, welcome back. Sorry to say I will not be able to make the trip to SummerSlam. Bummer, as I will have an overnight stay procedure done in the days leading into SummerSlam, but we'll head down to the Harkins Theater to catch SummerSlam there. That's good. I heard that they were doing that. That's a bummer that you're not going to be able to make the show, and good luck with everything that you're dealing with. And hopefully that will still be a fun trip for you and something fun and interesting to do. Speaking of SummerSlam, for those of you who are going to Vegas, I have gotten a few DMs from you on Twitter about that. I was going to be planning a meetup, but I was going to actually join up with Steven Larson, the YouTube channel, great friends of ours. They're so nice guys. They're such nice guys, and they have a great show over there. And I was talking to Steve a little bit and saying, you guys going to SummerSlam or whatever? He's like, yeah, we're going. And basically invited me to kind of join their little meetup. And he goes, dude, as soon as we nail down a date and location, you can share it with your audience. We'll make it a big-ass thing. Well, they have decided to pull out for reasons that I completely understand. They will not be making the Vegas trip. So we're going to try to figure out something for Vegas. I might have to meet some of you at the show. There's not going to be any sort of big meetup or anything like that. However, I'm driving in for SummerSlam weekend on Friday. And theoretically, I would like to get there before Rampage starts because that's the show in the United Center that CM Punk is likely going to appear on. It's pretty much been leaked, pretty much been confirmed. He's going to fucking be there. So I would like to watch that. So I'm going to start keeping my eye open for places in Vegas. If anybody knows of anywhere that does this type of shit, please DM me over on Twitter or contact me via email, goodmikework@gmail.com, and let me know if there's any place that you can think of that might be playing the Rampage show, because I would love to go to a bar or a casino or somewhere where the show is playing and watch it with fans. I don't know if anybody's doing that, but I'd like to find that out. That would be a lot of fun because I'd really rather not sit in my hotel room in Vegas and watch the Rampage show. I would like to be in a social environment doing that. That would be a lot of fun. So that's kind of what I'm trying to work to figure out for Friday night prior to SummerSlam. And then, of course, at the show, if anybody wants to meet up there, we'll probably work that out. At least come by and say hi, let you know where my seats are, shit like that. So hit me up individually if you guys are heading to Vegas. We'll try to figure something out. And if you have any info on where the hell I can watch Rampage in Vegas, please let me know. And thanks again, Zane G, and appreciate it, and good luck with all that stuff. Stone Cold 10X, thanks for the $2 from you. I was a big Fiend fan, so I'm pretty disappointed. Me too, my man. Me too. I think we can all agree on that. So anywho, let me take a sip of the H2O here. It's high quality Arrowhead, and then we're going to get into a lot. It was tough to even decide where we're going to start. So let me give you the menu. We're going to take our time with this. Talk about Ric Flair first, follow up with a little bit of Bray Wyatt. Then we'll transition into Adam Cole. We're going to talk about CM Punk and Rampage. We're going to talk about WWE's earnings call, where Vince McMahon had a couple of interesting comments. Briefly touch on last week's Dynamite and the very good rating it got, the Jericho Gage stuff, Domino's Pizza shit, CM Punk teases, all that stuff. Also, last week's SmackDown was interesting. John Cena and Roman Reigns was made official, but the way in which they did it was fucking ludicrous. And Sasha Banks' turn on Bianca Belair, you could see coming from across the street. And, of course, last night's WWE Raw, I watched the entire thing. Hated all of it until the main event. At least they didn't do what they did last week, and Nikki Cross had a really hard-fought, pretty good victory over Charlotte. That was a great match. So it was just 90% shit all the way up until the end, and I thought the women did a fantastic job, both of them, in the main event, and Nikki getting the win there was the right goddamn call. And we'll touch a little bit on NXT, which just wrapped up now. So that's going to kind of be the order of things. But like I said, I'm going to be reading Super Chats. I'm going to be talking to you guys, gauging your opinions on all this stuff. So we'll be trying to get all of it in. I know there's going to be a couple of tiny stories I've missed here or there because It was one of the busiest weeks to go back and read up on a lot of these reports and these stories and make notes for this. Holy shit. I really wish I was here last week to get a couple of videos up. But anyway, let me knock out a couple of more supers and we'll start rolling in with some of the news with Ric Flair. BC Amplified fan, thank you for the $5. WWE owns the rights to The Fiend, but if Bray Wyatt changes the name to The Fear and uses the new mask, could he still do the character? I don't know. When it comes to intellectual property, there's always language usually written in those contracts that will prevent you from doing kind of like mock versions. You know, they tried to come at Nash and Razor or Nash and Hall for doing the toothpick and the Chico and all that shit. And I think they failed in that lawsuit, but I think there's probably protections in there. But you know what? I wouldn't do that if he went to AEW. I wouldn't try to do that Fiend character with him. You know what I would do? I would actually use his real name, Wyndham Rotundo. AEW has proven that they have a very deep respect for WCW and the NWA. And when Ric Flair walks out there and completes that Four Horsemen reunion that on TNT, that's going to be pretty fucking amazing. And with Wyndham Rotundo, you know, I don't know what Mike Rotundo's status with the company is in WWE. I know he was an agent or producer there for a while. I think he's gone, but I'm not sure. But I would love to see Barry Windham. I know Barry Windham's had health issues. I would love to see Barry Windham and Mike Rotundo kind of, you know, maybe show up there or do something to help introduce Bray Wyatt to AEW. This is assuming he's going there, which I'm assuming he will. He's too big of a talent not to. He has to. And, you know, when he goes there, I think, you know, just utilizing his real name is really all you need to do. And he can have tones and cut promos in the way that the cult leader Bray Wyatt did, but, you know, just using his real name and just kind of going in a different direction. It's kind of how like Malachi Black is kind of the same guy, but, you know, also a little bit different at the same time. So I think Wyatt can do that in a similar way. And I think just using his real name is what I would do in that situation. And if I was in his position, I would insist that, yeah, I'll come in, but, you know, and AEW isn't one to trademark the fuck out of everything. So they're not even going to do him like that. But I would just use my real name because it's cool. You know, former tag team champions, you're named after them. You know, Barry Windham's his uncle. It's awesome. So I think his name alone just should remain intact. Tyrone Washington, do not worry about it, my man. Thank you for the support. Every little bit helps. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, and thanks for being here. Chris Ludecki's got $5 with a drop. Welcome back. Hope you had a great vacation. You, Solomon Monster, and Denise Salcedo are the 3 best channels out there for wrestling content. That is not horrible company to be in. Jason, of course, is a great dude. I've met him, and he's one of the best out there, if not the best. And Denise is a sweetheart, so that is awesome company to be in. Thank you for that, Chris. And all right, I think that knocks out the super dupers, at least for the time being. And again, thanks, guys. Appreciate your support. And thanks for hanging out tonight on this Tuesday night. And I'm glad y'all are here with me. Do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button if you don't mind, and subscribe to the channel. And we'll get going on stuff. Let's talk about Ric Flair. In the midst of every other story that's going on this week, we are still cooling off from the Daniel Bryan and CM Punk news. Then we get hit with the Bray Wyatt shit. Then we get hit with the Adam Cole shit. Now we're getting hit with the Ric Flair shit. But Flair is the most recent, so we'll talk about that. As first reported by Fightful and Wrestling Inc. and confirmed by WWE earlier today, Ric Flair has been officially released. As of today, August 3rd, 2021. August 3rd, incidentally, is the date of SummerSlam 1997. That show was 24 years ago today. I threw up a picture on Twitter today of my old apartment back in 1997. And I had the SummerSlam poster. I think my video store or something had it up, and I asked them if I could have it. And they're like, yeah, fuck it. You can take it. So I had it hanging above my entertainment center with my 19-inch Magnavox TV and a bunch of VHS tapes on the top. Fucking great. So 24 years ago, I remember that show like it was yesterday, watching it with my friends, with Sean blasting Taker with the chair and then reluctantly counting the 3. August 3rd always sticks out. So anyway, as of today, August 3rd, Ric Flair is gone. Now, the story here is that he personally reached out to Vince McMahon requesting his release, citing some disdain or some displeasure with some of the storylines and booking, namely the Lacey Evans pregnancy angle. Apparently, Ric Flair was either offended by this or using this as an excuse to ask for his release. Now, WWE granting him his release is good because they should. And when it comes to Ric Flair, when it comes to a legend like him, I think he should just always get whatever he asks for. I think it would be a really shitty thing to do for Ric Flair, a man of his stature and the age that he's in and the health troubles he's already have, to really hold him hostage at this stage of his life. So I'm glad to see that Ric Flair's pretty much untouchable when it comes to that stuff. And even though they know he's going to walk his ass right out there on TNT for the first time in 21 years, they granted his request, and they should. And Ric Flair, I've not always agreed with what Ric Flair does. Sometimes I think he goes for cash grabs and stuff like that, and he always just seems real hard up for money. And I don't know why, because the dude should be fucking rolling in it. Divorces or not, alimony or not, a little bit of better money management. I don't think he'd be in some of the financial desperation that he has seen throughout the years. But the thought and the opportunity for him to go in AEW was something that I never thought would happen. I thought WWE would lock him up and hold him down and make sure that he stays there because everybody else is there. Arn is there. Tully is there. And I remember feeling sad. I'm like, it would be cool if Rick could go there because what the fuck is WWE doing with him? The Lacey Evans stuff was stupid. I liked a little bit of the dynamic between he and Charlotte. I thought there was a story to tell there if they wanted, but also I thought it was kind of an unnecessary story. So really, largely, I didn't give a shit of what Ric Flair was doing in WWE at all. Nothing he was doing was satisfying creatively to me whatsoever. So I remember wishing that he could turn up in AEW. And now he probably can. Or now he probably will, excuse me. And now he's going to walk out on TNT. Ric Flair on TNT. That blows my fucking mind. And it makes me excited. Not because he's going to have a huge role in the company or anything like that, but just seeing him there. Ric Flair and Sting back in the same company on TNT. That's pretty damn freaky, and awesome at the same time. So, he's not going to go over there. He can't really. What can Ric Flair really do? But I mean, just having him come in there and be seen every now and then, I think is going to be really cool. And props to WWE for not pitching a fit about that and letting him go. And I think that's pretty interesting. I mean, what are the fans going to do? These rabid, salivating Charlotte haters who have never shut the fuck up about how she only gets pushed because of her dad. Now her father and fiance are both going to be on the other show. What's going to be their excuse now? Could it be that Charlotte's, I don't know, good? Maybe. It's a crazy fucking thought. But that's kind of an interesting dynamic, especially since Charlotte is the golden child in WWE. She is their cornerstone. It's no longer Cena wins, LOL. It's Charlotte wins, LOL. To the point where the fans are just disgusted by her fucking very name. And speaking of her name, I think they should do the name shortening thing to Charlotte Flair. Just start calling her Charlotte. Just drop the Flair. I mean, they call her Charlotte a lot anyway, but she's still Charlotte Flair in the announcements, on her Tron, all that stuff on WWE.com. Drop the Flair. Just for spite. Make her Charlotte. Why not? You do it to half the other members of the roster. Why not? So that's really interesting that Flair is likely going to be turning up over there. He is. Absolutely. He wouldn't ask for his release if he wasn't, because he could continue drawing the WWE paycheck. Now he's got a chance to go over there, have a little fun, reunite with some buddies, and go back out on TNT and basically join what is essentially the new WCW, which is AEW. Wearing their shirt, as a matter of fact. I'm like 30 minutes away from going live. My wonderful girlfriend busts in the room. She goes, "It came. I ordered you a shirt a couple weeks ago, and it didn't arrive before we went to vacation, but it's here now," and threw it at me, and it's a perfectly fitting gray cotton poly blend of AEW. And I'm like, I'm throwing it on for the podcast tonight because it's topical. There's a lot of AEW discussion going on here, and it's going to dominate most of the podcast. So I'm excited about that concept, just to see Flair there, and just the various people he could have a brief interaction with. I'm not saying he's going to get in the ring. He better fucking not. It's bad enough Sting is in the ring, but at least he has been somewhat respectable, So Flair, on the other hand, is not going to be so lucky. So I don't think they would put him in the ring. I don't think he would even be allowed to get in the ring, and his doctors would have a heart attack. But him just being there in general would just be interesting. I'm in my 40s. I'm a longtime fan. I've seen Rick through lots of different ups and downs and parts in his career, and seeing him there is, would be a little full circle-ish, which I don't necessarily hate. Can't explain it to the young fans. You just can't. Hello, Sunny Man and Victor. Good to see you. Johnny Smith. Anybody else who is rolling up on in here? Donnie Talks Wrestling is here. Jason Meadows. Thank you, man. Thank you for that. Mash, smash, destroy that thumbs up button for me. I'd appreciate it. And if you're here for the first time, subscribe, because now we got to talk about Bray Wyatt. Holy shit. But before I do, Ram Venero, Thank you very much, man. Very generous $10 drop. What's up, good mic work? What a time to be a wrestling fan. All of this news is exciting. It is. And this YouTube job is my side hustle. This is my second job, so this is good for business when wrestling news is fucking going nuts. Especially good when nothing is too terribly bad, because even though Bray Wyatt's release, which we're going to talk about, is horse shit, he's going to be fine. And if anything, he might be better off. So it's even more exciting when it's not depressing news. It's actually good news. And that's what a lot of this stuff is. It's just exciting because it really makes you examine and think about all the different possibilities and everything we could do with this news and everything that could happen. So interesting shit. But Bray Wyatt is on the menu next. Bray Wyatt, a.k.a. real name, Wyndham Rotunda, released by WWE. This was on, let me see, this would have been Saturday. I was on the beach on vacation with all of my friends. We were on the north end of Carolina Beach. You could drive your truck out there and shit. We had automobiles, we had tents, we had beer. I was 4 beers deep, just chilling there, having a good time. My girlfriend digs in our bag where we can have our shit in. She pulls out her phone just to check her phone, and she goes, And I kind of look over. She goes, I have some interesting news. And I was like, oh, yeah, what's that? And she goes, Bray Wyatt, released by WWE. I'm like, oh, my God. So I was like, can I have my phone? I pull out my phone. I go to Twitter. I'm like, I'm on the beach. I heard, fuck this company or whatever I said. And just flabbergasted that would be the case. Now, it's super shocking and surprising, but almost, maybe you could see a side where you've seen it coming because Bray Wyatt has not been seen since WrestleMania. We all thought he was going to beat Randy Orton. Apparently plans changed last minute. Randy Orton went over. Alexa Bliss had some weird thing to do with that, and Bray Wyatt hasn't been seen since. He's been seen at some tapings. He's been there. There's been rumors and reports for weeks and weeks and weeks about plans for his return. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's released. Story is that John Laurinaitis made the call, citing budget cuts as the reason for the release, which has really got a lot of people upset and questioning that reason, and as if there could be more to it. And if it is budget cuts, that's awfully shitty. That really tells you if they're willing to release a person like that who is delivered, that is all in creatively, constantly trying to figure out ways to get better, to improve the character, the gimmick. He is extremely invested. He's extremely talented. One of the best promos this company has ever had. He's good in the ring. He's got a family legacy. He's well-liked backstage. He works great matches. He's had great programs. He's shown versatility with different sides of his character. I think my favorite is the original one, the cult leader, 2014, Wyatt family leader, Bray Wyatt. But he's had other renditions that have all been very good. And so if he is expendable, that means virtually everyone is expendable. And this company now is no longer, driven or based so much on investing and making individual people. Now more than ever, they are the ice capades. Now more than ever, each and every one of these talents is a simple spoke in the wheel, like CM Punk said in his Pike Bomb. And if I was working there, I would be pretty freaked out too. If I was Big E, I'm like, fuck, they might release me, because they want to shed these big contracts or whatever the reason is. But it's certainly upset and shocked a lot of people within WWE. There have been multiple reports from people specifically pointing the finger at Nick Khan. Now, of course, Nick Khan is kind of the guy that's really been stepping in and doing a lot of the talking and a lot of the leading in his new position. He was a big part of the earnings call a couple days ago. And apparently he's the big reason for a lot of these slashings because he apparently is, according to the reports, he is very, very much obsessed with keeping the bottom line numbers as green as possible, never in the red, no matter what, under any circumstances, and shedding contracts that he deems too much, and he's shedding good ones. Braun Strowman and Bray Wyatt and a lot of the others and Aleister Black, some of whom they've even recently put investment and time into. You think that Aleister Black shit was cheap to produce? The animation and the vignettes and the music and all of that stuff. And then he comes out on TV and attacks Big E, and a couple days later he's released. Like, what the hell is going on? It really always seems like with this company that the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing, or vice versa. It's all over the place, and they're making decisions that just make no goddamn sense. And how do you think the talent must feel when they see stuff like this and they realize, man, I could get that call any day? You could think things are bright, and boom, they just hit you with it. Now, in Bray Wyatt's situation, there was some speculation as to what the hell was going on there. He hasn't been on TV for a while. There were reports that were never even close to substantiated a while back about him possibly maybe struggling to cope with Brody Lee's death. None of that was ever confirmed. I don't even know how anybody would know that and who the type of person would be to even leak that type of information. But there's clearly something else going on to where, at least in Nick Khan's mind and anybody around him, they feel that Bray Wyatt, the company, will be better off without that contract. And that's fucking ridiculous. So who knows what's going on with Bray Wyatt? I think that WWE releasing somebody like that is really, really a bad look, especially, like I said, with the talent morale, which apparently is kind of fucked up. The networks apparently were not happy about this either because The Fiend always did decent numbers. He was a big part of the show. He was a big merchandise seller. I've never been completely on board with everything WWE's done with Bray Wyatt. I thought they've made a lot of mistakes in the past. That cup of coffee he had with the WWE title a few years back I thought was ridiculous and should have gone longer. And there's been a lot they've done with Bray Wyatt that's been disappointing, but there's also been a lot that they've done with Bray Wyatt that's been good. He's had some great moments, some great stuff with Daniel Bryan, some great stuff with The Shield. Some of the best promos ever. You know, he's been compared to Jake the Snake Roberts. He was a part of the show every week to the point where I started tuning his promos out because they just kept featuring him every week. He was always on TV, always with the mic in his hand, always wrestling kick-ass matches. He was a big part of the show for a long time. So it's not like he's a guy that was stuck in catering or they couldn't figure out what to do with or anything like that. They usually had shit for him. And then just to cut him like this, I'm like, he's one of the most talented people you have there. And it's got to come down to money because why would this guy lose his job over someone like a Jackson Riker, who I think offers zero to the show? He's just as bland as you can get. He's the guy you keep, and I understand the salaries and the difference in the money there is probably pretty big and substantial as well. But it's a head-scratching decision. It makes you a little bit angry that they care so little about these people. And I understand it's a job and it's a business, and there are plenty of releases that happen that even I can say, kind of understand that one. They weren't doing anything anyway. I never really cared for them. They weren't showing me much, or, I didn't care for the ring work, or their character wasn't, just wasn't doing it for me. And then they get released. I'm like, they were kind of useless on the show. Those releases do happen. Those releases do exist, as bad as it is to say. But this is a situation where it's absolutely not. And this is a guy that could have been and should have been somebody that is always a big part of the show. They could kind of have a similar legacy, like a morphing of an Undertaker and Mankind type of legacy. Maybe a little sprinkle and peppering of Jake. And instead, they cut this supremely talented individual loose. So fine. He can go to AEW. He can be Wyndham Rotundo. He might not be the crazy horror movie villain that he was with The Fiend, but he can probably be a character very similar to Bray Wyatt. He's going to have a similar look. His promos are still good, or he can go the wacky version, or he can kind of do a version of what The Fiend was, or the Bray Wyatt Firefly Funhouse. Maybe he can do kind of a version of that, or maybe a little bit more broken Matt and a little bit less Mankind. I don't know. But I think him going there is an excellent addition. I think he'll find peace there. And I know this is a lot of, speculating that he's going to go there. I would assume he is. I can't envision any scenario where he wouldn't. I envision Tony Khan. Excuse me. I envision Tony Khan every time a big WWE release happens or there's a big piece of talent out there. For you older folks, in the audience, maybe you kids don't know what this is. There used to be these things called arcades. Awesome, dimly lit, smoky rooms filled with arcade cabinets. You run around there, you play like a motherfucker. And when you're a kid, you constantly go back to your dad and pull his pant leg and ask him for more quarters. And I just envision Tony Khan kind of going to Nick Khan, who apparently is like 4 times richer than Vince McMahon. You might not want to poke this bear, because what if he just decides to spend a fucking $1 billion just to ruin you? I envision Nick Khan going up and bothering Daddy Khan for, can I have some more money? Can I have a couple more million? Because CM Punk's available. Okay, here you go. And gives him some more quarters and sends him on his way. I just kind of envision that for some reason. So there's just a lot of stuff going on. We got Bryan Danielson and CM Punk, and now potentially Bray Wyatt, and another big name that we're going to talk about in a minute, Adam Cole, and a legend like Ric Flair, all probably showing their face on that television show between now and Thanksgiving. Not too shabby. It's going to have a good look to the show. They got some good talent there. They always have. And, you know, I think in the long run, you know, maybe he'll be better there. I think it's really sad and fucked up that they can't pay off the Alexa Bliss stuff in WWE. She's pretty pissed. Her tweet that she sent out after this news broke, tagging or quote tweeting WWE and saying this is really disappointing. There was some report that she may have asked for her release. I didn't look into that. I have no idea the validity of that at all, but I did read it. I think she's probably better off staying there, honestly, and I think Alexa Bliss is better in WWE than she would be in AEW. But I can understand her being pissed off because it's, you know, that's where her character, this is the best work she's ever done, you know, in terms of showing her range as a, you know, a character and how she can be more than just who she was. And even the crazy Alexa Bliss has been a slow transformation. It's evolved. It just didn't go from, you know, who she was to who she is now. There was a slow kind of process into this. And now how do you pay this off? You got this Lily shit and Alexa Bliss that is a spin-off of the Fiend character. Now the Fiend is gone. You can't even put those two back together now to pay off this storyline that was really good. So I guess, you know, if Nick Khan and whoever else is making these decisions, they have the ability to make decisions with no concern or care in the world or consulting with the writing team or the creative team. I guess they don't give a fuck either. And say, hey, you know, we might want to release this guy. You want to wrap up business with him or whatever. At least do that or do something to get Alexa Bliss out of this. Because now what does she do? Eventually, she's going to have to come out of this. Eventually, she's going to have to change again or go back to more being like Alexa Bliss used to be. But if they do that without any Fiend involvement, that's just going to be weird, isn't it? Unless he's released now and she snaps out of the spell. But on Monday night, last night, Lily came to life. Oh, my God. I don't know why I do this. It's insane, right? I mean, it's just completely insane. So I guess, you know, I know some wrestling sites out there, including Fightful, had reached out to multiple sources in WWE, and more than one person kind of pointed the finger, you know, at Nick Khan, but also discussed how, you know, the morale in the company could be a little bit shaky with this because you got to be a little bit worried. Some people are always going to toe the company line. I know Sheamus has recently in the last couple of days. Drew McIntyre always will. But for the most part, if I was there, I would be really just kind of disgusted, you know, like I am every time, you know, they record record profits and then fire 30 people, which half of which are very, very valuable. Maybe the other half aren't, but some are. And it's, if I was there, I would be super annoyed, and I would be jealous of people that were in AEW making decent money, making comparable money to what I'm making for an environment that's just so much more easygoing, a lot friendlier, a lot less stressful, and more of a just kind of a happier environment. And WWE used to have that. That was their big selling point back in the day when they started turning the tables on WCW. They were the ones that had the team mentality in the locker room. They were the ones where the talent was banding together and saying, we got to beat these motherfuckers. These are all overaged, overpaid, dinosaur morons over there just fucking this company to hell, and they're beating us in the ratings. Bitch, we got The Rock, we got Edge, we got, you know, Stone Cold, we've got Christian and everybody else that was made during that time. Kane and The Undertaker and Mankind. All the stars of that era. You know, they came together and it was a team effort to wipe them out, made their own stars, and overtook the monster of unmotivated, you know, money-grabbing, selfish egos. And now it's kind of like the tables have turned. The egos aren't in the WWE locker room. I think the WWE locker room in terms of, you know, egos and people butting heads and clashing and drug issues and stuff like that are so much better now than they used to be. The arrogance comes from WWE themselves, how they view themselves, which we'll talk about in a minute. Vince McMahon joking in the light of the Bray Wyatt news, joking that they should keep giving AEW more talent. Imagine hearing that. You know, they really believe, and of course the kicker that AEW is not competition. not competition my dick. Yes, they are. Clearly they are. And they really believe that they are untouchable. In a lot of ways they are. I will always reject anybody that says, oh, AEW is going to put WWE out of business one day. I think WWE's claws are dug in too deep. That ain't never happening. Never. But AEW is going to be a credible competition to them. They are going to do somewhat comparable numbers. And they are not even 2 years old yet. And they're making the progress they are making. When United Center sells out, that's going to be the largest crowd to see a non-WWE show since WCW was around. They're about to sell out Arthur Ashe, another 20,000 plus seat arena. They've got buzz. They've got momentum. WWE has the opposite of that. They're making all sorts of waves. They're getting all this negative publicity with all these ridiculous releases. Fans are pissed. And the shows, like we saw last night on Raw, it's just the same fucking shit. Rematch after rematch. There's no creative enthusiasm, I guess you would say, at all in any of these shows. It doesn't even look like they're trying hard. Back in the Attitude Era, you heard of, certain writers coming in and creating storyboards and making sure that each and every talent on the roster at least had something that they were doing. And you would write shit out and come up with ideas. Sometimes you change it, but for the most part, you would have everybody in a direction. You don't see that now. You see the opposite of that. You're tearing up scripts and rewriting them 2 hours before the show. The very thing that WWE themselves on their WWE Confidential show back in the day would poke fun at WCW for doing. Those idiots were so up their own asses, and it was such a clusterfuck there that the creative suffered, and their product got worse and worse and worse and worse until WWE took them over. Sound familiar? So they better get their shit together, because the more this company grows, the more it's, I think the fans are going to, a lot of them out of frustration. I know there's a big WWE cult fan versus AEW cult fan war going on. I stay the fuck out of that. I'm going to SummerSlam. I don't want WWE to fail or die or anything like that. I want them to not be stupid. That's all I want. This isn't a pro AEW podcast and an anti WWE one. I want WWE to get better. There are plenty of fans out there that root for the WWE to suck, and there is an equal amount of fans that root for AEW to suck. I root for both to be good, and WWE fucking sucks right now. And you combine that with all of this shit going on, and these ridiculous releases. It's just like, what the hell is happening, right now? It's just like there's a lot of just crazy things going on. And the Bray Wyatt news was just extremely disappointing for a lot of reasons, and namely that I'm going to miss that character. I think Bray Wyatt should have always been featured on the show in a prominent role, and sometimes he was, sometimes he wasn't. But that is a guy that you stick him on TV, he knows what he's doing, and you cut him loose. Yeah, I wish I had a beer open right now. Fuck, I don't know why I didn't. I've had a week's worth of drinking on vacation, so it's the old Arrowhead tonight. But man, it makes you want to drink. Ronda Rousey stirred the pot today. If wrestling Twitter is one big blender, Ronda Rousey threw a fucking spoon in there. Tweeting out this: I've seen you same, quote, fans chanting, "We want Wyatt" last night, chanting, "We want beach balls" over Bray Wyatt performing in the past. If WWE treated him like he was expendable, it was because of you ungrateful idiots did first. So she is blaming the fans for Bray Wyatt's release. Now, I'll do my best to look at both sides of this, because more people than I thought kind of defended this take a little bit. I disagree with the take. But I think the reason some fans do agree with it is because they are citing the fact that fans are ungrateful idiots. They are. I was at Survivor Series 2018 at Staples Center when that crowd fucking turned on her after these idiots were so vengeful and so hateful and so mean-spirited to anything Charlotte related. She gets in the ring with Ronda Rousey, and all of a sudden they just turn on Ronda, and Charlotte, doing all these dastardly heel things, gets all of this reaction, positive reaction from the crowd. Even Ronda Rousey looking around with welts and is all beat up and busted, and she's looking around like, what the fuck? Like, what am I even doing here? And that shit affected her. And I think that was the night that she decided, when my contract's done, goodbye, idiots. So I can understand her impulse to think this way. for sure. And she's not even wrong in that point that fans, can be extremely ungrateful and stuff. And maybe if they were, showed a little bit more support or whatever, but I believe the fans did show support. See, he sold merchandise. Fans wanted him. Now, when they chanted, "We want beach balls," I think that might have been more directed at the creative. It's very hard to chant, "We want a better creative direction for Bray Wyatt. We want beach balls to be more fun because they can hijack the show." It's probably more out of frustration than anything else. Bray Wyatt did catch a lot of flack too from the dumb portion of the audience, which this is wrestling, so there's a lot of them. And he even tweeted his displeasure about that or put it on Instagram or something, kind of quoting some of the things that has been said to him on social media. "You're stale, you're boring, you never shut the fuck up," or "I don't like your character," or whatever. Fans just complain about everything. It's what they do. But largely, he was very, very much well received by the audience. If anything, it was the booking and the use of him that was pissing us off. You guys listen to this podcast, I never got over that Goldberg loss. Ever. I mean, that made me so fucking mad because I could not believe they would do that to their own investment after everything they did to build this guy. Apparently, he can't even die, because they nearly wrecked him, and a lot of people feel like they did in the Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins. It was very hard to come back from that. Then he won the title in the Saudi Arabia show, and then he's going to take on Goldberg. I'm like, no way Goldberg's going to beat him. Look at all the money they've spent creating this character that could be maybe nobody's going to replace Taker, but if you need that weird, crazy, supernatural horror type of dark character, he'd be the best guy for it because he's supremely talented. And like I said, it's kind of a morph of Mankind because he's got different renditions of himself. He's got Bray Wyatt. He's got Funhouse Bray. He's got The Fiend. The 3 faces of Wyatt. Maybe there's 4 faces. I don't know. There's a lot. So that all, to me, was very, supremely valuable. And when they flushed that down the toilet with Goldberg, I was like, you got to be kidding me. But I still don't think that was enough to seal the fate of Bray Wyatt by any means. Just take him in a different direction, turn him back, because that Fiend couldn't last forever. I always thought that we would eventually go back to the Bray Wyatt you see on the screen here. Something like that at some point. You'd get back to that, which shows that he has the ability to win, and if he does get stale, and it's not just because WWE sucks at booking, but he actually does, the character runs its course, he's got a whole fresh new set of shit he can do because he can go back to the old way. Like The Undertaker, when the badass was done, I can go right back to Dead Man, start over again. And that's a moneymaker. That's a character that's always going to be relevant, that you could build a legacy on, you could build a Hall of Fame career on. Fucking morons, man. Anyway, so my point about Ronda's tweet is that, yes, fans are ungrateful at times, a lot of the time, but I don't believe that is the reason why Bray Wyatt was let go. A lot of fans told me today and tweeted me, well, she's right. Well, I mean, she's right, and she's right about that point. The fans are assholes, but the fans being assholes isn't why Bray Wyatt was released. Bray Wyatt, I believe, was released due to this cutthroat nature of this Nick Khan motherfucker, who appears to me to be a lethal dose of poison, as you can see on the screen. Because ever since he's really gotten in there, there's been a lot of people who we as fans have felt have been unjustly fired. And you're more expendable now than ever before. And the fans' treatment of wrestlers, I think a lot of times doesn't help situations, but it's certainly not the cause of this. It's not applicable in this specific instance, what Ronda is trying to say. It doesn't apply to this. Maybe it applies to other situations. I'm sure it does. Not to this one. It's completely not even in the same ballpark to me. And I was surprised at that take. I was like, yeah, you're right in your frustration with fans. I think I'm the first one to blame the fans. You guys know me. I never shut the fuck up about how goddamn dumb they are half the time. The shit that I see on Twitter and people say to me and stuff. And I'm like, Jesus, you can't even argue with this amount of ignorance. It's like talking to a brick wall. But in this situation, this ain't on the fans. I ain't putting this one on them. It's not their fault. This is WWE just being WWE. WWE going to WWE, And they certainly did there. So best of luck to Bray Wyatt. Incidentally, JoJo was quietly, I think, let go or left the company a couple of months back. That was reported also recently as well. The two of them have a baby together, and we wish the best to both of them. And Bray Wyatt, for this, from a wrestling fan's perspective, I am really hoping to see him on the other channel. I'm glad that we have that ability now, because 3 years ago, if he would have been released, where would he go? Impact, maybe, it wouldn't be the same. I guess he could go to Impact now, but that's not where I want him. I want him over there on that Elite show, that one that's on the TNT. Yeah, that one, I forget what it's called. That's where he needs to go. I think he'd be fabulous there. And as a wrestling fan, I could be confident that he is not going to be used like a pile of shit. And they're actually going to think a little bit, maybe even take his influence. If it feels clear that Malachi Black has got a lot of influence in his character and direction and how he's presented, I'm sure Wyndham will have the same thing. So let's hope that we see his awesome ass over there soon, because as wrestling fans, we deserve him. He's a heck of a talent. Let's talk about Adam Cole in a minute. Pretty decent audience. So if you guys want to smash that thumbs up button for me, I would appreciate it. I'm going to see if there's a super chat I need to knock out. Yeah, there's a couple in here. Let me knock these out, and then we're going to talk about Adam Cole. Oh, yeah, I got a few. Yeah, I got to catch these up here. This is as far back as I can go. I think I got it right, though. Thomas Aridia, thank you very much for the $9.99, my friend. Plugging my buddies and I's channel, the ZNT Wrestling Show. We review WWE, AEW, and NXT pay-per-views, and we do classic reviews. We just reviewed a No Way Out 2003. That's an interesting show. Horrible Triple H versus Steiner match. I remember being disgusted by that show. Dude, if you want, down below... I'm sorry, you can just click it right there. As I say, put a link to your channel, but you can click him right there. Go give him a subscription and get his channel kickstarted for us. We'd appreciate it, and good luck to you, my man. And thanks, Tomas, again. Joey's Adventures, appreciate the $5 from you. There was a rumor this weekend that Bliss asked for her release because of Bray. If that is true, I could see them reuniting in AEW. We just talked about that a minute ago. I haven't seen anything that's really kind of given me any true confirmation of that from people that I consider credible and stuff. But I also haven't looked very far or gone very deep, but that would be interesting. But like I said, I think she kind of fits in WWE a little bit better. But yeah, reuniting with him could be fun. Chris Ludecki, appreciate $2 from you. In time, who will be the first AEW guy to jump to NXT? I don't know. I kind of thought maybe Scorpio Sky could head to WWE one day or something. But AEW guy to jump to NXT, that's interesting. I can't... probably be somebody young, maybe featured on Dark, maybe gets offered something over there. Anybody else on the main roster that you see regularly on Dynamite, I would think they'd probably go main roster. Unless it was Evil Uno or somebody like that, maybe NXT. Evil, I hope you're not watching. I did not mean that as an insult. Deshaun Robinson, thanks, dude. Good to see you back, man. Thanks for the $5. Fastlane, Mania 37, and Raw After Mania were all of Bray's appearances in 2021. He was supposed to return this month, and he was annoyed with creative. And he has showed signs of that before. He has tweeted displeasure before. He's been relatively silent through all of this, which is also, a little bit speculative, and you wonder what the hell's going on there. But him being annoyed with the creative is not surprising at all. Of course he is, because they don't know what the hell they're doing over there. BC Amplified Fan is back with 2 more. I have a feeling Asuka is the next release. Yikes. I hope not, man. She is just spectacular. That would bum me the fuck out. What a bunch of idiots. But again, maybe they're trying just to bog down AEW with all this talent. But Vince saying that comment, I thought was just a really shitty thing to say, considering everything. Especially when he jokes that or says that AEW is not competition when they clearly are, and they've done things to specifically try to hinder their growth. And they use that bullshit excuse that everything is competition. Bullshit. Not everything is competition. AEW is your direct competition, and you're trying to pretend that it's not because you're an arrogant bunch of fucking assholes. And it blows my mind that they have this vision of themselves. I've been saying it for the entire time I've had this channel. It's my favorite saying. It's my biggest piece of advice that I can give to any young person out there. What goes around comes around. And this type of fucking attitude, I'm telling you, will bite them in the ass. And I hope it does, I hope it does. Because unlike, which Vince brought up, unlike WCW, I've always said this as well, that AEW, it's a completely different situation than WCW. Completely different situation. Because AEW isn't in the position to strike and put down and hammer into the ground a nearly bankrupt company. WWE, back when WCW was kicking their ass, was in huge financial trouble. Like 1995, business was not good. Hall and Nash left because they got offered huge contracts that Vince could no way afford in 1996, and they were gone, got stronger, even to the point in 97 where they were doing pretty decent business. Summer of 97 was great. They were doing jam-packed houses, or attendance was not, maybe for pay-per-views they were. Attendance was improving, and they were putting on some good shows, and he had to let Brett go because he's like, the company's in financial trouble. Tide turned, Austin got over, Tyson came in, all this crazy shit happened, and the tide turned, but they were very, very close there to, really having to, almost like throw in the towel. You've heard that in multiple shoot interviews from various people that it was touch and go there for a little bit, from a financial standpoint when WCW was beating the shit out of them with the NWO angle. It's not like that now. It's not like where, Ted Turner was opening up his wallet and just offering these guys double what Vince could pay him. Of course they're going to leave. AEW is competing in a different way. They're competing by putting on a better product of wrestling. I don't agree with everything AEW does. There's plenty of times on Dynamite I'm like, what are they doing? Oh, that's overbooked. Oh, that's stupid. Those times exist. I'm not an idiot, and I'm not some AEW shill that just agrees with everything they do. There's plenty of things that they do that I don't like, but overall, they are giving us a much better structured wrestling show with deeper stories that actually get followed through with. They have a lot better, it just seems like, planning and grasp on things, on what the fans want. They're not pussies about music licensing. They will go out there and get music if they have to, when necessary. I'm sure CM Punk's going to come in with Cult of Personality. And I'll mention some music later on when I talk about the Jericho and Hoovy match next week. Because if you notice, a lot of that old WCW shit is dubbed off of the network and Peacock. So does that mean that the music is available for licensing? Let's go out and get that Jericho and Hoovy WCW theme and play that when they come out to the ring on Dynamite tomorrow. Of course, it would mean no singing Judas, but I could take a week off from that. So that would be fun. But, all these things that AEW is doing, they're going to have to compete in a different way. Not to put WWE out of business. That's no fun. We don't want one. Because then AEW will just turn into what WWE was. That would suck. Back in the day, Eric Bischoff had a specific goal in mind, put the WWE out of business. That's a stupid fucking goal. Because what it did is force WWE to fight to the death. They won, created a monopoly, and the business creatively have gone down the shitter ever since. Now we've recovered. We got a new company out there that's well-funded, that's not just thrown together and is all discombobulated all the time the way TNA was, with all the shit going on there. This is a firm company owned by a billionaire. And I said that for years. I said it's going to take a Mark Cuban. It's going to take somebody like that to invest. Looks like the Khans are willing to do that. And now they're here. We got a second chance on this. I don't want these companies to fight to the death. I want them to compete and make each other better so we as a whole, as wrestling fans, win. Doesn't that make the most sense? So WWE is in a completely different situation here with AEW, where AEW is doing their competition, not with their pocketbooks or their wallets, but with their product. Just put on better product. There's great wrestlers in WWE. WWE, I still believe, has the better talent roster. If you just look at the entire company, I still think they have a far better talent roster. But it's how they use that talent. It's how they use it. I'd like to see WWE's payroll versus AEW's. It's like a Moneyball. How the Oakland Athletics, with a couple of veterans and a whole bunch of young guys with small salaries, were able to go on a huge winning streak, nearly won the World Series. Can be a similar situation here. AEW's got a lot of big names, but they don't have the John Cenas or the Rocks, the Brocks or the Goldbergs or anything like that. But they got a good group of talent there, and they are using their talent better than WWE is using theirs. And WWE has got, in my mind, a slightly superior talent pool under their umbrella than AEW does. But AEW is doing better with what they got. And Dynamites are usually very energetic now that the crowds are back. They're feeling AEW survived that pandemic. I don't know how, but they managed to stay afloat. And now that the fans are back, they're ready to rock and roll every Wednesday. Their momentum is only growing. And that's all really good news for them. Now we've got somebody that's going to kind of force WWE to do better, you would think, in theory. But based on what we're seeing from them, they really don't seem to give a fuck. It just seems to be all about that bottom line is about making money. Everything is a number. Everything is a statistic. And, there's no, WWE used to have this like family atmosphere. It was small run. Vince and Linda and Pat and Gerald and, Jim Ross and a few people, Beth, Zaza, Vince's old secretary that I talked to a bunch of times on the phone, who would personally answer the phone and talk to me about shit. Just a very small run company back in the day. And now it's just this mega machine that just casts people off, valuable assets, and big parts of your show that fans are not going to forget about. It's not like I said, it ain't JTG that they released. It's Bray Wyatt. They seem to not give a shit. So in the end, hopefully the fans will win and AEW can scoop up some of these really valuable people and use them to a better potential. It's all we can hope for, right? And then, as if that weren't enough, Adam Cole has apparently re-signed a small extension with WWE that will make him a legitimate free agent after SummerSlam, which means no compete for him. At least I'm assuming. Apparently, Adam Cole's contract, unbeknownst to WWE, came up or expired right after Great American Bash. They didn't know this. They thought it was going to expire later in December, and he was locked in for a few more months, and it apparently had lapsed, and they scrambled, and they got him to agree to sign a 1-month extension or basically work beyond SummerSlam and work TakeOver. And after that, apparently, according to Adam Cole, he's going to examine his options, which means he is free and clear to do whatever he wants. The table is set so perfectly for him to go to AEW. Even the storyline they're doing right now in AEW or in NXT is perfect. He can pass the torch, do something for his buddy Kyle O'Reilly on the way out the door. There's some face-to-face shit going on between these two guys next week. He's apparently, according to NXT, he's uncleared to wrestle. So next week, some match will happen. Maybe a loser leaves town match. Puts Kyle O'Reilly over, heads off to AEW, join his woman, Britt Baker, and be utilized there as a big star. Because if you're Adam Cole, I think he's the greatest he's definitely on the NXT Mount Rushmore. Many would argue he's the greatest NXT champion ever. I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that argument. I can totally see that. And he's always going to be great there. Shawn Michaels loves him. Triple H loves him. He's beloved there. But if he's looking at what happens to all of his comrades around him that get called up to the main roster, I don't think so. I think I'm going to go over there where they give a fuck. You know what I mean? I think he's jumping. If I'm him, the only thing that's going to keep Adam Cole there in my mind, and I don't know him, I don't know what's going on in his head. I'm just kind of putting myself in his shoes. The only thing that's keeping me there is my appreciation for Shawn or Triple H and all they've done for me and really helped me and that sort of thing. Being able to work there under those legends was probably very satisfying for Adam Cole. Two of the best to ever do it, who love you and have made you their own pet project. Maybe that loyalty will keep them there, but you can't be on NXT forever. Eventually, you got to go to Raw or SmackDown. And Adam Cole ain't 250 pounds. And that's one of the bigger knocks on him is his size. I don't give a shit about his size. At this point, all shapes and sizes are welcome in wrestling, and he's a damn fine worker. But his size could be an issue on the main roster, especially for somebody like Vince McMahon, who never seems to get anything. You ever notice that? I just don't get it. So, and it's funny, after last night on Raw watching Cross, I'm glad Keith Lee beat Cross because the fans prefer Keith Lee and they like Keith Lee. And, he beat Karrion Kross. But Jesus, I love how WWE has almost skipped the process that it used to be of the slow deterioration of an NXT talent like a Shinsuke Nakamura or Sami Zayn to just straight fucking them to hell as soon as they get there. You know what I mean? As soon as Kross got there, pinned by Jeff Hardy. Bounces back the next week with a loss to Lee, but then they got 50-50 booked into a loss last night. So if I'm Adam Cole, I'm going, the fuck? Are you crazy? Goodbye, WWE. I'm making them, he's got all kinds of leverage. He's got the craziest leverage. If I'm Adam Cole, I'm like, assholes, if I'm staying here, you got to guarantee me something. You have to give me an immediate release anytime I ask for it. Because the minute you start doing to me what you've done to all these people, I'm just going to say, I want to go. I would insist that was written into the contract. If I was Adam Cole, or I'd sign a 1-year deal, get another year of that money, and go into AEW next year when everything cools off, because there's a lot of new faces going to turn up there in the next few months. Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, probably Bray Wyatt, probably Ric Flair, probably some others. Malachi Black just got there. And, Rusev is kind of, or Miro is kind of new and shit, so maybe let all that cool off, come back in a year or something. Basically, he's holding all the cards here. And I think, when I examine the two situations, unless it comes down to money, I don't know what his motivations are. I don't know what he's looking looking for in his career or what he's looking to do. He may have a dream of being in WrestleMania, and he can do that if he sticks with WWE. I don't know. But if I'm him, I'm like, shit, a place where I know I'm not going to get fucked over. I haven't even been to Raw or SmackDown yet, and I know when I get there, they're going to completely fuck me. I got a lot of my Bullet Club friends there. There's so much storyline and history with so many people in AEW already. He's going to come in well known. I'm assuming he can use his name unless WWE owns Adam Cole. I don't think they do. So he's going to go there virtually intact. And the time couldn't be better. I mean, it's not like he's right in the middle of some big storyline. Undisputed Era is dead. It's run its course. Roderick is off on a new faction. Bobby Fish is kind of floundering. Kyle O'Reilly is kind of the next star they're trying to push. The time is right. All of the stars are aligned for him to perfectly jump ship and do the right thing on the way out the door. He's not somebody that's going to go to AEW and cut a scathing promo on WWE. He was treated very well in NXT. Probably treated better than anybody else there. But he still, I'm sure, watches Raw and SmackDown and knows what the future holds for him if he sticks around there. So he's probably like the class act that he's always been known to be. He's going to do the right thing. He's going to wrap up business in NXT the right way. He's going to put somebody over on the way out the door, make sure Kyle O'Reilly gets a big push on the way out. Thanks for everything, Sean. Thanks for everything, Triple H. You might see me again in a couple years. But if it's all good, I'm going to go over here now because there's no Vince there. And that's what I'm saying if I'm Adam Cole. Agree or disagree? Speaking of Cole's release, the timing matches up a little bit suspiciously with the release of Canyon Ceman, who was in charge of, talent relations or some sort of big fucking title in the company. He was let go, and apparently now the rumors could be that this was one of the reasons, is that he was kind of in charge of keeping an eye on these contracts, and he was the one to blame for Cole's kind of contract going unnoticed there. Jim Ross got a lot of heat back in the day for letting Jeff Jarrett's contract do that. So this could have been, nobody knows for sure, but could be one of the reasons, or maybe even the final straw on Ceman's release. Could be. You know what? I'm out of water. I'm going to grab another one. Don't go anywhere, all 420 of you. See how fast that was? I got a mini fridge right over here. Anyway, I needed some more water because there's a lot going on. All right, what's next? Adam Cole stuff is out of the way. We got to talk about CM Punk. Like I said, we've been talking about AEW most of the night, but AEW Rampage, which is going to be the second show, it's going to be August 20th, Friday night, I think going head-to-head with SmackDown, Friday night right before SummerSlam. They're going to be running the United Center, which seats about 23,000 people. The only WWE show there that has ever been run is at SummerSlam 1994, first show ever run at the United Center. And I remember when they ran there, how beautiful I thought the arena was. I'm like, this place is fucking fabulous, especially in 1994 when WWE was not drawing huge audiences. And their Raw shows were done in front of like 400 people, tiny crowds. So to see this to me was like, wow, that is an arena for WrestleMania. And for some reason, they never went back there because it's an expensive building to run. And running the Rosemount Horizon, which is where they were last night for Raw, is what they've always done. They've ran multiple WrestleManias there. I think 2, 13, and 22, I believe. And a lot of big Raws, a lot of big moments take place in that arena. That's always been WWE's arena. They never really went back to the United Center. So AEW running that, not even for a Dynamite or a pay-per-view, but for this Rampage show, they're attaching a tagline to it called First Dance, which to me is weird. It would be really cool if they would... or if maybe they would have thought ahead and made week 1 of Rampage the 20th, because that seems like it would be the first dance. This seems like it's the second dance. This ties in with CM Punk's cryptic tweet about tweeting out the Last Dance Chicago Bulls theme song. Chicago Bulls perform in that arena. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat used to use that music in WWE back in the day. Tweeting that out, apparently he's followed AEW, he's followed Tony Khan, he's followed MJF. They're all playing into this. I am 1,000,000% convinced that CM Punk has signed on the dotted line with AEW, and he's going to be there that night. I think AEW might have even kind of intentionally leaked this shit to make sure these tickets get sold. They're selling like a motherfucker. based on CM Punk being there. So if he's not, they're going to be in some trouble. So I think that is going to be a really cool looking show and a really cool looking venue for AEW. And I would love it if they would stay there and run All Out there or run more pay-per-views there. Make that a regular stop. I know it's expensive. It's a super expensive building, but who cares? It looks awesome. It's similar to the Staples Center, in terms of how it looks, kind of got like 3 levels, just looks awesome in there. And that's going to be a great place for a show. And I think AEW should run that as often as humanly possible whenever they can draw a crowd for that. So they are filling this arena based on the understanding of the fans that they're going to see CM Punk. So I can't see a scenario at this point now where that doesn't happen. So that is pretty fucking exciting that we have all but been confirmed that CM Punk is going to be in AEW. And like I said, I'm going to be in Vegas that night, getting ready to go to SummerSlam the next day. So it would be really awesome if I could find a place. I'll call around local bars, try to find a place that is playing Rampage so I can watch it, maybe with some of you, if you're going to be there. Should be fun. So yeah, Rampage is going to be awesome. And don't forget, they got All Out coming up right after that, a couple weeks after that on September 5th, I believe. A couple of weeks after that, they're running Arthur Ashe. And provided COVID and the variant and other restrictions don't hinder any of this stuff, and these shows go off without a hitch, there's going to be some awesome shit to be seen. Probably going to have CM Punk's debut at Rampage, CM Punk's first match, likely against Darby Allin at All Out, and Daniel Bryan's AEW debut, possibly at Arthur Ashe in late September. And who knows if we'll get Ric Flair or Bray Wyatt or Adam Cole or anybody like that sprinkled in between or after. But there's going to be some fresh faces to go along with a lot of the already pretty hot storylines they got going on there. So it's an exciting time for AEW, an exciting time to be fans of theirs or just fans of wrestling in general, because this is exciting shit. Despite all of WWE's shortcomings and all this fucking nonsense, it sure makes things interesting on the other side if these names do, hop on over there. And I know not every person that works in WWE that gets released can go to the other show, but these are talents that you would absolutely want to scoop up 100%. If you know what I mean. Anyway, what do I have next on my agenda if I can get my mouse to work? I guess we'll talk a little bit about Dynamite last week. I don't want to talk much about it, just a couple of key points. I wasn't able to watch most of the show. I caught a little bit of it on my phone because, like I said, I was on vacation. But I wanted to mention at least the crazy main event between Chris Jericho and Nick Gage. Incidentally, AEW Dynamite drew a pretty good rating. 1.11 million, I believe, was the rating, which is very good. Highest rated segment was the Jericho and Gage match, which was crazy and violent, and more violent than I thought they would even get on TNT. Extremely brutal. Probably the best part of the match was when they decided to go to picture-in-picture and show an advertisement for Domino's Pizza at the precise moment that Nick Gage pulls out a pizza cutter and starts slicing Jericho's head open. Legit. Bleeding everywhere. This is a loaded story. Apparently, David Bixenspan had released a small article or a post about how he had learned that WWE was even trying to get stories written about this and stir the pot and create shit between an advertiser and this TV show. Domino's hasn't said a word. They don't seem to be pissed off at all, but there's been a lot of, there were some reports that Domino's was very offended or very upset that happened and coincided with their ad, and they're threatening to pull their ads. None of this has been substantiated or confirmed at all, and apparently WWE's greasy fucking mitts are in this too, and it's too much to rehash here, but if you want to dig into that and read up on it a little bit, it's interesting, that these morons would in the earnings call say that this company is not competition, then, outwardly go out and do shit like this, to fuck with them. It's just, it's what WWE does, but goddamn, they are full of shit. So anyway, the Domino's Pizza thing was funny. The match was extremely brutal and violent. I was able to watch most of it. And, Nick Gage needs to be a one-off. This is really not my cup of tea, this really overly violent wrestling. The Omega and Moxley stuff can be fun. Barbed wire and crazy shit can have a place, in certain times, but just pizza cutters and light tubes and just being slow and out of shape and not athletic and you're just cutting yourself up. That's not my kind of wrestling. I don't like it. There's a part of me that respects Nick Gage's relationship that he has with the audience, how he can get himself over, and this is a pretty good moment for him to have, and it drew pretty good numbers. So it's not like fans totally hate this shit. It's just not my cup of tea, like I said. And I don't think he'll be back for anything more than an appearance here or there or whatever. But it was a very, very vicious match, super gnarly. Even the superplex off the top rope through the pane of glass that was set up on the chairs, all that was crazy. Jericho was bleeding buckets. He was the painmaker for this, which is kind of cool because it feels like they're doing different variations of Jericho. He was the painmaker here, and as we'll hear in a minute, they announced what he's going to do next week in his next labor. But in the end, he beat Nick Gage, but he did so by taking a hell of a beating in the process. A lot of people felt he gave Nick Gage a lot of offense. He did. Jericho, I thought it was going to be mostly Gage getting the blood and the cut up and the light tube shit. Jericho was all in on this. So whether you agree with this type of wrestling or not, 50-plus-year-old Jericho's got a set of nuts on him to mess himself up and put himself through that when he doesn't really have to. And just, again, showing his versatility and all the different types of people that he can work with. So after he beats Nick Gage, MJF, of course, is out there, just like he was last week after Jericho beat Spears and announced that he's going to face Nick Gage next week. He comes back out this time and says that, okay, you got through this second labor, next week the third labor, and then he cuts to a flashback of Jericho a long time ago, months ago, mentioning Juventud Guerrera to MJF, saying, I was facing Juventud on WCW when you were pooping in your Pampers or whatever. And so MJF plays that and says, next week, you're going to be in a match, and the way you have to win, the only way you can win, is by executing a move from the top rope, which I thought was a little weird, and announces that Jericho's opponent is going to be Juventud Guerrera, Hoovy Juice, coming back at God knows what age, got to be late 40s by now, and he's going to be taking on Chris Jericho. I think that's really cool. However, I would have reversed that. I think the second labor should have been Hoovy, and then when Jericho beats that labor and overcomes that obstacle, then MJF ups the ante and says, well, then, okay, fine, you can do the cruiserweight shit, but can you fight with light tubes? Next week, it's Nick Gage, because that's much more of an extreme match. Talk about a step back. So this is one thing that I think AEW did incorrectly. I would have flipped these two. But that still doesn't mean that Juventud versus Jericho is awesome. And like I mentioned earlier on, if you watch Peacock or the WWE Network and you watch old WCW shows, they dub out a lot of WCW themes, including Chris Jericho's theme from WCW, his Lionheart theme, or his Monday Night Jericho theme, which was a knockoff of Pearl Jam's Even Flow. And I think Raven had a knockoff of Smells Like Teen Spirit, or maybe that was DDP. Raven had a Come As You Are, I think, knockoff or something. So they had a few like knockoff rock themes that WWE apparently doesn't own the rights to. And of course, they don't pay for shit because they're cheap, stingy assholes. So that implies, and I don't know the legalities of this, but it would imply that this music might be available. So Tony Khan has proved that they will pay for music, Wild Thing, and they're going to pay for Cult of Personality, I'm sure, and Jungle Boy shit. So that would be cool, don't you think? I mean, yeah, we wouldn't get the fans singing Judas. Who cares? We could skip that for a week. And Jericho comes out to his old WCW theme, and who knows, maybe Hoovy can too. I haven't noticed on the network if Juventud Guerrera's WCW theme is dubbed out or not. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is. And if it is, maybe they can go out and get those. And just for fun, they can come out to their old WCW theme because it's a different version of Jericho. He was a painmaker. I don't know what he was the first week. I guess he was just himself. But he was the Painmaker versus Gage, and now he can be Lionheart. And then next week they can do something else, maybe make him face Christian or, maybe somebody from his Attitude Era, Y2J days. You guys can throw out suggestions about what the fourth labor could be. I think it should be Kirk Angel. Remember him? Kirk Angel? He was good. Sometimes he would be interviewed by Vivian Garcia. Bring her in to do the announcing. Vivian Garcia announcing a Chris Jericho and Kirk Angel match. That would be fun. And all jokes aside, Angle coming in could actually maybe work and be plausible. Might be fun, And maybe it's this quick submission match because Angle can't do a lot, So if you just do, and MJF makes a submission match between the two or something, well, that means Jericho's got to win and he's got to overcome. Maybe it's a beat the clock. Maybe he's got to avoid 5 minutes without being tapped out by Angle or something like that, and he wins. Could be fun, or they can bring somebody else back. If you got a better suggestion for that, let me know. So I do like that, but I do think the labors are a little bit mixed up. The crazy hardcore shit should have came after, but the Juventud match next week should be interesting. I think the stipulation is stupid. He has to hit a top rope move. He hit a fucking Hurricane Karana on Nick Gage in that match. He just did a top rope move. Should be a piece of cake, even for 50-year-old Jericho. Should be able to pull that off. So it's a weird stipulation. MJF looks a little dumb in that, making that stipulation. Like Jericho, after what he just went through with Nick Gage, you don't think he can execute a top rope move to Hoovy? I think he can, and he will. And he'll move on to the next labor. So they're telegraphing the fuck out of this one, who's going to win it, but it's still going to be cool to see Jericho and Hoovy wrestling on TNT. Even if they're old and slow and fat, it's still going to be fucking awesome. So I got a kick out of that. Darby Allin is also teased on Dynamite. CM Punk's first opponent. Once I saw that from Darby Allin, saying whatever he said about best in the world, I'm like, oh shit. There you go. What a perfect opponent for CM Punk. Talk about somebody that can just bump all around. We don't know what CM Punk's going to look like in the ring. He failed miserably at the UFC. So him trying to go in there and just be a tough guy and smash people's mouths might not work. But him going in there and working with Darby, this young guy, this young fearless kid who just, wants to take on all challenges, man, he wants to be the first one to step up to CM Punk. Think about the match they can have. Perfect opponent for CM Punk. Darby Allin's going to make him look like $1 trillion, and Punk will go over. The loss won't do anything to damage Darby Allin whatsoever. It'll put him in a huge profile match with a big payday. That's going to get a whole lot of eyeballs on him. Everybody's already impressed as fuck with the kid as it is. He goes out there and tears the house down with CM Punk. His future only gets brighter. Perfect opponent. I would have nobody else in there with Punk other than Darby in terms of his first little initial thing. Unless they want to go big and they have him coming out there confronting Cody and tearing him down and eviscerating him on the mic or something like that. But I think Darby Allin would be a really fun kind of first match. They might even do it is Darby straight edge? I'm not sure. Feels like he might be. They could do a respect match. I don't know if Punk's going to come in and pipe bomb. I'm sure he's going to say something pretty awesome, but I don't know if he's going to be, babyface. I want to have a respectful babyface match versus you or something, or if he's going to come in and say, hey, I'm here to take over and kick ass and show that I'm still the best. And if I got to go through you first, no problem. Would be kind of fun to see a CM Punk and Sting brief kind of crossover. They've never crossed paths ever, to the best of my knowledge. Just a little face-to-face or something there. Could be kind of cool. So I think if that's the plan, and we get Darby Allin and CM Punk, in the semi-main or something at All Out, whew, hell yeah. Unless they throw Punk right at the title, but I wouldn't do that. Doesn't need that right away. And they might be delaying the Adam Page Kenny Omega match. Many people are very upset about this. I kind of agree. We saw the big Dark Order versus Elite 10-man tag. Very cool stuff. Seeing Hangman come out with the Dark Order and the Elite doing the Space Jam shit. Very cool. But Omega pins Hangman. It was an elimination match, I believe, and he pinned him. And according to Dave Meltzer, the plan for All Out is now changed. And Omega and Hangman might not be happening at the pay-per-view. Now, the way I see it is this story is just because Omega pinned Hangman on Wednesday, that's a couple of pinfall victories he's got now. To me, that just continues the story. It doesn't end it. So in my mind, unless I'm crazy or something, or I'm just blind, I feel like that match might be delayed a little bit, or maybe they might be trying to figure out the best place to put that, and maybe do something else at All Out. Maybe All Out is going to have a lot of other shit going on, like CM Punk's first match or whatever. So what I'm hoping is with this report of the match being moved or changed, it's just delayed. Maybe they're going to push it to that Arthur Ashe show or something like that. Or maybe they're going to push it to Full Gear, which could also happen. And if that's the case, I guess in the end, that's fine with me. It just felt like All Out would be the place to have that match. But I still believe that's the story they're telling. And for them to drop that doesn't seem like it's really AEW style. We've all been kind of pre-programmed by WWE. They'll just do shit like that sometimes. But Hangman is super over, and he is absolutely the guy, I think, who should be able to take that belt from Kenny Omega, unless you want to plug in Daniel Bryan to that scenario or something like that and have Bryan do it or whatever. But I think if I'm making a guess that the match is not off completely. It's just maybe not taking place at All Out. I still think in the end, the story you need to tell is Adam Page defeating Kenny Omega for the title. And my mind hasn't changed on that. So based on everything I've seen, we'll probably see a lot more tomorrow, see if they've changed directions on this, but I still feel like that's what they're going to do. I still feel like that's the story they're put in front of our face, unless I just suck at reading wrestling storylines. But I think I've gotten pretty good because I'm 40 years deep into this shit. So it feels like this is what they're doing. So I am not freaking out yet, and maybe they've just got a better plan. Or maybe they're trying to change things, because plans do change. Meltzer always likes to say that. And if you got all these new components coming in, and you got a Bryan Danielson, and you got a CM Punk coming in, you want to make sure that everybody can have their moment and have their time to shine. Maybe they feel that CM Punk being on the show and returning in his first match would overshadow Hangman's title win. I don't think so. I mean, at WrestleMania 12, the Ultimate Warrior came back after a long absence, and that was able to coexist on the same show with Shawn Michaels being crowned and anointed as the new guy, beating Bret Hart in the Iron Man match. Those two things coexisted just fine on the show. So I don't think that this should be any different. CM Punk coming back, wrestling his first match back, tearing the house down on the undercard with Darby Allin would really take away from Adam Page and Kenny Omega. If anything, I just think it would make the show better as a whole. So I don't know why they might be moving this. I don't know. But in the end, I think it's still got to be Page. He's just too fucking over. And that's what the story is. So we'll see. AEW is an exciting product right now. There's all sorts of shit going on. So that's all I really have to say about Dynamite last week. That's all I really saw. I never went back and watched the whole show. I just got back from vacation yesterday. So that was just what I saw when I was on vacation. I was looking at it on my phone, and I watched a couple of those matches. So Dynamite is tomorrow. Not even sure what's advertised for that. Unfortunately, I'm back to work tomorrow, so you won't be able to hear what I think about Dynamite for a couple of days, but I'm hoping for a big show and for some more announcements, some more teases, and some more table setting for All Out, for Rampage, for all that stuff. Not a horrible time to be a wrestling fan on Wednesdays, that's for sure. So hopefully everybody will enjoy the show tomorrow, and I'll catch it when I get home. I wanted to touch on SmackDown. We'll pivot now, move to WWE. Only two things I want to mention about last week's SmackDown, because, again, I was on vacation. I didn't see the whole thing. But I did see the contract signing, which I thought was just ridiculous. So they were kind of teasing that it was going to be Finn Balor. When Roman Reigns denied John Cena's challenge for SummerSlam, Balor stepped up, said, "I want the shot." And WWE tried to go through with it. I was reading Twitter, cracking up. They were fooling everybody. Everybody's like, "Holy shit, I can't believe they're going through with Roman and Balor." I'm like, something's going to happen. Something's going to happen. But what I thought would happen is not what happened. It kind of cracked me up. So they got the table there. It's Roman. It's Balor. They're about to sign the contract. Down on his luck, Baron Corbin, who's got spaghetti on his shirt. His hair's growing out. He is just living in a cardboard box. He jumps the ring, attacks Finn Balor, throws him out of the ring, and attempts to capitalize on Finn not signing the contract and put his name on the contract instead. Like it works that way. Then he's stopped by John Cena, who then hits the ring, kicks Corbin's ass, throws him out of there, and then Cena signs the contract, but he doesn't sign it. He writes as if he's in second grade in all capital letters in big red magic fucking marker, like this is goddamn kindergarten. He writes Cena on the contract and then shows it to the camera. See, it's legit. That works. And now it's official. John Cena versus Roman Reigns has been made official for SummerSlam in the stupidest fucking way I've ever seen. I know it's wrestling, it's tongue-in-cheek, suspend your disbelief, all that stuff, but come on. Can we try a little bit? Can we pretend this is legit, at least? I don't think you can just write in magic marker your name like you're fucking 2 years old. You're writing on the bathroom wall when you get your hands on your mom's lipstick or something. I could not believe it. I was like, are you kidding me? That's how they get to this match? Without some great promo with Cena just chipping away at Roman, and finally Roman snaps and says, "Fine, you got your match." Or at least do that. But this way where he kind of sneaks in the back door is just so ludicrous. So anyway, that's how they got to John Cena and Roman Reigns. I found that to be funny. And, of course, in the main event, so fucking dumb. Sasha Banks kind of randomly came back out of nowhere. I didn't even know that was happening until I was watching the show. And she's teaming up with Bianca Belair for some reason. And they're taking on Zelina Vega and Carmella. So before this match even happened, I'm like, well, of course, they're going to beat the crap out of these two, Zelina and Carmella. They'll easily handle the two of them. And then they'll fight at the end, or they'll challenge each other, or whatever's going to happen here. It's it's going to lead to their SummerSlam rematch. We've been smelling that for weeks. So, of course, they have the match. They win. They celebrate. And it's just like I could have been watching on an iPhone 3 on a chair 100 feet away. And I could have looked at that and said, oh, she's going to turn on her. Nothing has ever been more obvious than that. So, of course, Bianca turns her back. Sasha bank statements her, snatches her around and hits her with a bank statement, I believe, and just starts choking her out, and Bianca's squirming and freaking out. It's kind of on you, Bianca. You know, you should have seen this coming. You know Sasha Banks' track record. You know what she's capable of, and you turned your back, you know, and you got your ass kicked, and that was fucking dumb. So that will lead to Sasha and Bianca facing each other at SummerSlam, no doubt. But, man, y'all could have tried a little harder with that one. That was just that was a little bit too obvious. And I get just WWE storylines and their fan base, they just don't really have to try very hard or something with this shit because it was so predictable. You know what I mean? It just didn't have anything to it. So they just made that match happen now. I don't think it's official yet, is it? But it will be on Friday. You can mark my words. They'll have a promo. And the match will be official, or Sonya and Adam, or whatever. If it hasn't been made official already, I'm not even sure. It will be. So it's going to be Sasha and Bianca, and they took the most predictable route in the world to get to that match. So way to go. I usually like SmackDown, but last week looked a little bit dumb, and that's all I really saw of the show. I suppose we should at least discuss a little bit of Raw last night, too. Do you want to do that? But before I do, let me cruise over here to the chat. Just feels like I've been ignoring a lot of comments and stuff because there's so much to get into. I'll see if there's anything interesting going on over here. And then, oh, yikes. Thank you for deleting those, guys. Yikes, what kind of shit is that? There's some crazy shit in the chat. Thank you for handling that. I'll handle that. Ugh. Jeez. Well, we got some I've never seen this before. Never seen this before. I'll get him out of here. All right. All right, well, we got some crazy-ass bot in the chat here. I don't know how to stop it. Jim Cornette is God. Well, I don't know what's going on here. This is really kind of crazy. I don't understand the obsession. Jim Cornette is God. Okay, I guess you can just keep spamming the chat. It's not going to do any good. All right. Trying our best here. Oh, really? I don't know what kind of life it takes to like run an account like this, you know? Well, thanks for the monkey wrenches that are helping me with this. I'm doing my part over here as well. Oh, yeah, maybe I should do that. Church of Cornette. How do I get to subs only? How do I do that? Here we go, participants. I'm just looking for that setting, guys. We'll get back to it. How do I do the chat? How do I do that? Participants. Maybe this. Pardon all this, guys. Well, unfortunately, I just don't know where that setting is. Looking for it. I know. I'm trying to work on it. I apologize for all this, guys. We'll get to it in a minute. I'm just trying to find how to make this setting. Let me go to content. Comments. I don't know. This is definitely a new one. Yeah, well, doing a subscribers only thing, well, that might not help because then you can just subscribe to me. I know. I guess we got lucky tonight. Well, this is obviously just some sort of a bot because it keeps changing everything. It's all different people. You can't just ban. I know, guys. It's not that easy. I can't just ban them. It's like it's a bunch of people, or it's a bunch of bots. But I think there's a way to basically do this. I'm just looking for that setting. Treat highlights, insert ad, participants, share. That's not it. Go down here. Viewer activity. Stream settings. All right, there we go. Still happening. Still happening. Okay. What if... Customization. There we go. Who can send messages? Subscribers. There we go. There we go. That might have helped. We'll see. We'll see if that does the trick. So anyway, I tried to help that, guys. I really apologize for that. That's ridiculous that people have that life. But I did not know where that setting was, so I kind of had to look at it there. So anyway, and I changed it to where you have to be a subscriber of mine for a long time for you to be able to comment. So anyway, sorry, guys. We got to the bottom of that. I'm actually glad I was able to find that. I'm like, where would it be? Where would it be? I got to remember that for next time in case any crazy shit happens. Anyway, but yeah, we're all good. Thank you, Jet. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Big Guy. Thank you, Nick Musser. I apologize for that. Did it happen to Salamonster as well? Well, good. Yeah, well, thank you for those who pointed out that there is a subscribers only mode. I was not aware of that. So it just took me a minute to find that setting. It was not where I thought it would be. And we got him out of there. Jesus Christ. How long was that happening? Because I was talking my ass off and then I turned around and this fucking fool. What a loser. What a loser. Like, I just can't even imagine the type of life you must live to have that level of insanity in your life. My God. Yeah, I went over. I won the match. Alexa, show me what kind of account. Never mind. I was going to make a gross joke there. Yeah, I don't even know what that's about. I don't even know how you set up a bot to that degree. But anywho, yeah, maybe he's subscribed 250,000 times. You never know. All right, so I think we're back to business now. I can get back to what I was talking about, and I wanted to discuss a little bit of last night's Monday Night Raw because I was not up here for a review. So anyway, we'll get into that now that that moron is gone. And we'll talk a little bit about Raw. Now, like I said earlier, I disliked virtually all of the show. There was nothing on there I found interesting or exciting or anything like that until we got to the end. They were building the Charlotte and Nikki ASH rematch again after last week in a match that I watched in the Atlanta airport. I was delayed there before I was getting into my final destination last week and had some time in the airport to watch Raw on my phone, virtually watched the entire episode last week. And I was flabbergasted that they do this shit with Nikki ASH and, she lost, but she kind of considered the the loss of victory in its own, and she challenged Charlotte again. She wants to keep fighting and all that, and so they've rebooked the match for Raw. So that was going to be in the main event again, and I had my suspicions as to what was going to happen there. But what happened earlier in the show was a whole lot of nothing. Show opened up with MVP coming to the ring, cuts a match on Goldberg, and then Goldberg comes out, and he, of course, is still demanding the match. And I think Lashley, he didn't back down from him and, stood there and stood his ground, but let Goldberg run his mouth, and then he left. And then when Goldberg is leaving, MVP, this is one interesting part of the show, MVP hops outside of the ring and approaches a kid who's in the front row. And if you look at him, he is the spitting goddamn image of Goldberg when Goldberg was a young man, played for the Atlanta Falcons, had hair, all that stuff, looked exactly like him. And it's his son. It's his little shirtless son from when he had his retirement speech back in 2017. It's been 4.5 years now. Puberty is a hell of a drug. This kid has grown up. He looks like a pretty big badass, and already you had people on Twitter booking matches between him and Dominic Mysterio at WrestleMania and shit. So that kid has grown a lot. He looks a lot like Goldberg, and who knows, maybe he can't be that old. He's got to be 17. I don't know how old he was when, he was dancing around in the ring shirtless with his dad, but he looked like a kid. He looked like he was 10. So I feel like he could be anywhere from 15 to 17 or something like that. So maybe he's got a desire to sniff around the business. The kid looks like his dad a lot, and I'm sure if he's got his dad's genes, he will be in pretty damn good shape. So I thought that was funny. MVP starts messing with him. Goldberg comes back, spears MVP, and that whole thing happens. So now they're injecting his kid into this, and I don't know if he'll have a similar role to what Dominic has with Ray, or if it's kind of a one-time deal. Don't know, and honestly don't care at all. Speaking of not caring, I don't give a shit about anybody's sword or anybody's motorcycle or anybody stealing a sword. And all of this history between Drew McIntyre and Jinder Mahal, and it's about a sword. It's stupid. So this week, Drew is taking on Veer and Shanky in a handicap match. During Drew McIntyre's entrance, something interesting happened. He's coming out to the ring, and you hear Michael Cole saying 16-time world champion. And it was very clear right from the outset of the show that WWE clearly, 100%, no debate in it, was piping in music last night, or piping in cheers last night, piping in audio. Especially the fact that they were in Chicago. They pissed a lot of fans off recently, and there was a chance that the fans could do some show hijacking. I kind of was hoping they would. Eat them alive, Chicago. We heard some CM Punk chants and some other ones here or there, a couple AEW chants, nothing too massive. I thought it would be worse. But they were clearly piping in some crowd noise as well. So when you hear Michael Cole there, a lot of fans thought that was, that's proof that they're piping in crowd noise. I do believe they were, but I think that was a different situation. It turned out that it wasn't some old show that they were using. It was actually a promo for SummerSlam with the Roman Reigns and John Cena match. And that was kind of over the audio there. You can kind of hear a little bit of it. That was a funny little mistake by them, especially when we know they're fucking piping shit in. So anyway, the match happens. Nothing happens. Jinder Mahal comes in with a chair and gets his boys DQ'd, and that's it. And the sword saga between McIntyre and Mahal continues. Yippee. We also had an interesting match between Rhea Ripley and Nia Jax. Nia Jax is so unsafe in the ring that she went out there and injured Nia Jax. Busted her wide open. Send her down to NXT before she ends somebody's career. Thought that was a funny joke. But no, in the match with Rhea Ripley, don't know how it happened. She must have taken a shot from Ripley somehow. Nia Jax gets her eye just busted to shit. Blood all over her face. And it looked kind of badass because lately she's been doing the big wild hair. Reminds me of Haku. When he came back in like 2001, he was teaming with Rikishi and he had the big wild afro. She kind of got like that Tina Turner hair going on. So the blood combined with that looked very Samoan and very awesome. So I don't know how it happened, but she got busted up pretty much hard way there. And blood was all over her face. In the end, Rhea Ripley rolls her up for the win and wins the match. And there was more dissension after the match with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. So it looks like we're finally getting to the point where we're going to pay that shit off. And it's about time. They've been together way too long. But hopefully Nia Jax is all right. I don't even know if it required any stitches or anything, but hopefully it didn't. Excuse me. Almost choked on my water. Anyway, We also had a very compelling tag team match with Mason T-Bar defeating Ali and Mansoor. T-Bar pinned Mansoor. Mason T-Bar or Ascension 2.0. I don't know if we're going to give this dumb team a dumb name. I don't think we need to. I really like Dominik Dijakovic, and I wish he wasn't in the stupid team. And Ali and Mansoor, it seems like Ali is a little bit like reluctant. Mansoor's all in on this team, but Ali's like, we ain't bros yet. Just slow down, pal, or whatever. So that the whole thing is going on. Again, another storyline or angle on the show that I don't give one iota of a shit about. After that, we got a Charlotte promo hyping up the match later on against Nikki Cross. Runs down Nikki. Nikki shows up and attacks her with a chair, which I thought was kind of cool. Beats the hell out of Charlotte with that, and she's not playing any games. Even though she looks like a complete idiot, she looks like a 5-year-old on Halloween, she will fuck you up. So she hit her with a chair, and their match later on is like a no-holds-barred contenders match, I guess is what they're calling it. Completely missed what happened between Tamina and Doudrop. Natalya suffered an injury last week, tore some ligaments in her ankle, had surgery on that. I don't even know what they're going to do with the tag team titles. Are they really going to try to keep those on them and long enough for Natalya to recover? I don't think so, but I also wasn't paying that close of attention to Raw last night, so I didn't catch what the commentary team said about the fate of the tag team titles. I don't know, but all I know in that match that Alexa Bliss interrupted on the screen, and I was out of the room and didn't even see who won. But you know what? It doesn't matter. After that, we got Miz TV with Damian Priest, so this shit is back, as if we haven't seen enough Damian Priest and Miz and Morrison shit with the Bad Bunny stuff at WrestleMania. They've gone back to this. They're in the ring. They do stupid shit to each other. The drip stick comes into play. Then we go to commercial. I think we get a singles match. Damian Priest defeats John Morrison. He was already 3-0 against Morrison prior to this match, so of course you have to do it again. After the match, Sheamus attacks. Ricochet comes out and makes the save. They go to commercial. Guess what? Tag team match. Big surprise. And Morrison gets pinned again in the finish of that. And Priest and Ricochet get the win. Could have just not even needed that. Interesting match with Riddle taking on Omos. Omos just dominated him and pinned Riddle, so poor Riddle. Randy Orton is still out with undisclosed reasons. Not sure what's going on with Orton, but whatever it is, it's put a halt on RK Bro, which sucks because I enjoyed RK Bro and I enjoyed everything they were doing together. So Riddle kind of seems to be treading water on his own. Took the loss here to Omos, and Omos continues to be booked very strong. Hopefully Orton can get back and we can do that tag match between Riddle, well, RK Bro, I should say, and Omos and AJ, and we can pass the titles to them. Then we get backstage again, or we go to Alexa's Playground, and Doudrop and Eva Marie have gotten to her. They beat up Alexa Bliss, but then Lily pops up and comes to life. Again, what the fuck? So that happened. Then we get a rematch of last week. Karrion Kross taking on Keith Lee again. Now, their match last week was actually very good. Kross bounced back from the stupid loss to Jeff Hardy that made no sense. Choked out Keith Lee, got a big win there. But then he takes a step back again, and they do a rematch last night. And the crowd was very much behind Keith Lee. I like Karrion Kross, but the crowd doesn't give a fuck about him. Zero reaction for Karrion Kross, which is a shame. I like him, but fans ain't connecting with him on the main roster. Part of that's WWE's fault, taking away Scarlett, the presentation, the entrance, stripping him down a little bit. Plus, what the hell is he even doing there? Makes no sense why the NXT champion is even wrestling matches on Raw right now. They just do it to do it. They never even gave us a reason why he is there. He's got this shit going on with Samoa Joe. He's got a takeover match against him coming up. Why is he there now? I just don't get it. So, he's back, and then he faces Keith Lee again. They have another pretty good match. This time, Lee gets the win. I think wins with a Spirit Bomb or something. Pins Karrion Kross, which is kind of good for him because Karrion Kross beat him for the NXT title. Back when Lee got brought up to the main roster. Now Kross follows him, and they're both fucked. So Kross has a losing record on Monday Night Raw of 1-2, and he dropped a match to Lee, so I don't know if they're going to do a third one next week or a rubber match or whatever. They probably will, knowing them. Or if maybe they're going to book those two for SummerSlam or something. I don't know. There's been plenty of reports that Keith Lee is not happy either. There's been plenty of reports that Keith Lee has possibly asked for his release. I would love to see them release Keith Lee. He's been absolute, complete disappointment since leaving NXT because they fucked him over like they fuck everybody over after he was put over too so strong. He was the guy that ended Adam Cole's long run. He was a double champion, forfeited one, and then put over Cross as the next big thing on his way out the door so he could come to the main roster and kick some ass, because when he was there for a cup of coffee previously, he made some big waves Survivor Series and Royal Rumble. People thought he could be a potential opponent for Brock. You don't feel like that now because WWE are idiots. But he did get the victory last night. That's good, but you did it at the expense of Karrion Kross. There ain't nobody else in that company that could have eaten that loss. Somebody of, decent stature that Cross or that Lee could have put down. You got to do that to your NXT champion when he's got this match with Samoa Joe coming up on the horizon and he's losing regularly on Monday Night Raw. Who's booking this? Who is in charge? I mean, I know who. We know who. But what is going on, man? I just don't know. I mean, fucking first graders could write more compelling shit than this. Don't even know who won between Reginald and Tozawa. It was a 24/7 title match. I don't know who won that. You guys have to help me. Don't know. And then the main event was Charlotte Flair versus Nikki Ash. Now, up until this point, I'm completely disgusted with Raw. I usually, even when we have the most horrible Raws, there are parts of the show that are funny or good. We've got, you're going to get some good wrestling because the talent there is all spectacular. There's going to be a pretty funny backstage segment or two, probably with Matt Riddle or something. Usually the show's not all bad. Even in a really, really bad show, you'll say to yourself, well, at least that match was pretty good, or at least he did his job, or something like that. But the writing is just piss poor. It sucks. This was the first show that I thought I was going to go 100% of the show with hating everything. And I don't even know, as bad as Raw can be, I can't even remember the last time that happened. Because usually I can find something worthwhile in the 3 hours of nonsense. But this was a chore to watch until I got to the main event. Couldn't have given a shit about anything they did up until Charlotte and Nikki, which was a really good match. They kicked each other's ass in the no-holds-barred match. Charlotte is very dominant on Nikki, puts her through a table, taunting her, mocking her, not paying attention, not putting her away when she has the chance, making a Cardinals mistake that a legend or a veteran of her caliber shouldn't make, and winds up measuring Nikki. Nikki's trying to slowly get up. I didn't really like the spot because you could see it coming. They got a table leaned up in the ring in the corner, and Nikki's in front of it. She's been beaten to shit. Charlotte's standing tall, just waiting for her. Get up so I can finish you off. And Nikki's kind of climbing to her feet, and Charlotte goes to charge, and of course she moves, and Charlotte goes right through the table. And Nikki is able to then capitalize on that. I don't even know what she hit Charlotte with, maybe her finisher or whatever, but she puts Charlotte down shortly after that and pins her completely clean in this no-holds-barred match. Holy shit. Your champion beat a really good contender completely clean. Go fucking figure. Now, one thing I was unaware of, I did not know this because of my vacation. I'm just a little bit out of the loop last night. I didn't know that they've already booked the triple threat for SummerSlam. I had no idea there was a women's match already set. So I was thinking in my head that this has got to be Becky. I thought last week was going to be Becky because after Nikki lost, I think Charlotte kept beating her up. And I'm like, oh, they should bring out Becky right here. And then she didn't come out. And then last night they do the same thing. And they're in Chicago. And it's a big venue, big crowd, big market. I'm like, oh, here's a good spot to bring her back. She can come in and say, hey, I want a piece of this action at SummerSlam. But I didn't know the Ripley, Charlotte, Nikki match was already booked. So Becky coming back between now and SummerSlam, I guess might not happen. I thought they would want Becky there in some capacity. But now, one good candidate for Becky's return could be the Raw after SummerSlam, which coincidentally happens to be right here in the whale's vagina. So I'm going to be there. Right at 2 days after SummerSlam here in San Diego at Raw, that could be where we see Becky. Or she could come back at SummerSlam itself, which would also be fun if she came out and challenged the winner or something like that. I don't know. Her coming back at SummerSlam would also be pretty cool because I'm going to be at that show too. So the likelihood of me seeing Becky Lynch's return is very good, I think, at this point because she's still not back yet, and I think she's ready to pounce. And you think the WWE would want to build up SummerSlam, which is with as much names and star power as humanly possible, but they might be holding off on Becky Lynch. I don't know. So all in all, Raw was a stinker last night, except for that main event, which wasn't bad. Those ladies did a good job. Thought it was good. And in terms of the wrestling news, that really only leaves us with, I'm going to go and answer a bunch of questions here in the chat in a second, but that really only leaves us with tonight's NXT. And I was basically messing around. I was eyeballing it, just wrote down the pertinent facts here. First of all, last week, or I should say, first of all, last week and this week were pre-taped shows because they were bumped off the USA Network for the Olympics. So the last 2 weeks have aired on Sci-Fi. So they weren't really going to be building up these shows that huge on the Sci-Fi since the spoilers were already out and they were leaked and all that. But last week was the big turn. Dakota Kai turning on Raquel Gonzalez, and Samoa Joe officially got reinstated as an active member of the roster, and he will be taking on Karrion Kross at TakeOver, which we all knew. It amazed me. There's a couple people on Twitter that swore up and down that Kross was going to forfeit the title and go to the main roster undefeated, and no match with Samoa Joe was going to happen. I'm like, are you high? Do you not see? What the fuck? So I was almost just like flabbergasted that somebody actually think that. So, of course, like we all knew, nobody fucking doubted it, it's going to happen. Joe versus Kross at TakeOver. That's awesome. That should be an awesome match. Would be really awesome if they could find a venue for this thing and have it somewhere other than the CWC. And you would have to assume that Samoa Joe is going to take that title off of Kross, and Kross is going to go to Monday Night Raw so he can lose every other week. Very exciting. But this week we opened up with Hit Row defeating Legado del Fantasma via DQ when Santos Escobar bashed. I think it was Top Dollar with a chair. Hit him with a chair, DQ, no big deal. Ridge Holland, very impressive squash match. Glad to see him back. This dude is a corn-fed white boy right there. Holy crap. This guy is just gigantic. He eats chicken sandwiches, but instead of bread, he uses chicken. Huge guy. Glad to see him back. He had a nasty injury last year, and he's awesome and pretty impressive in the outing here. Roderick Strong put down Bobby Fish. Very good match there, kind of ending their saga, and you have to wonder what the future holds for poor Bobby as he feels a little bit directionless right now. We also had Cameron Grimes and LA Knight teaming up to take on the Grizzleds. Now, LA Knight and Grimes are kind of like reluctant partners here. Grimes is still LA Knight's butler. I think it would be cool if Cameron Grimes kind of did like a Virgil-inspired butler outfit. You know, Virgil had like the white sparkles and the pink lapels or whatever. Do something like that. I mean, you got the $1 million title there. Why not? And I would also like to see maybe these guys being an NXT version of RK Bro, you know, where they're just kind of unlikely, but they're funny. You got one goofy guy, you got one guy that's super annoyed by him, but he slowly starts growing on him. I kind of wonder if at some point, and that definitely didn't happen in this match, but if at some point they get to the point where Knight respects Grimes, because you can't just go into complete another feud here. You might be able to do another match between these two, but just rekindling this whole feud, I'm not sure. So Grimes and Knight here, they're not quite on the same page yet. As a matter of fact, LA Knight ditches Cameron Grimes. Grizzleds hit their finisher for the win, and after the match, Cameron Grimes gets a TED Talk. $1 Million Man comes down and says, come on, you got to find a way out of this. You can't continue to let him treat you like this or whatever, and basically seems to like giving him a pep talk in order to convince him to challenge LA Knight to some other match. If I beat you, I ain't no longer your butler or whatever. Feels like that's what they're going to do, but I kind of hope after that, like Thatcher and Ciampa, you know, and like Cesaro and Sheamus throughout the years, they maybe find a way to kind of form maybe a brief alliance just for fun, because they're so different. And if this whole thing can turn into them kind of like respecting each other at the end, I think might be a little bit fun, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be the direction they're going in, at least right now, because DiBiase is trying to get Grimes to challenge him to some sort of a match, I'm assuming. And the only other thing I wrote down was the main event, Johnny Gargano versus Dexter Lumis. Love her or leave her match. I guess the stip here is if Dexter loses, he doesn't get a chance at Indy or something like that. And he did lose. Johnny Gargano got the win. Indy got knocked down during the end of the match, kind of distracted Dexter a little bit. He got hit with the one final beat, and Gargano got the victory. But then after the match, as Candice and Johnny are trying to drag Indy away, she just can't help herself. She breaks free. She dives in the ring and basically Fez presses Dexter Lumis and starts making out with him. And just a beautiful moment. It gave me WrestleMania 7 Macho Man and Elizabeth vibes. Awesome to see that Index, no matter what happened in this match, nothing can break the strength and the bond of their love. And it was just a beautiful moment between Indy and Dexter. Happy for the two of those kids, and hope they live a long, happy life together. But that's pretty much the gist of NXT. Like I said, big night tomorrow night on AEW Dynamite that unfortunately I won't be able to watch. but I'll be up here talking about it as pretty much as soon as I can. Now I can go over here to the chat, cruise over here, see if anybody's got anything to say, and answer some questions and that sort of thing. I wish I could scroll back beyond. Well, I guess I could in the original stream, but scroll back to before all that crazy spam came in, but I can't seem to get above that. So I'll answer anything that might be down here after that. And thank you again for those of you that pointed out you can do a subscriber-only chat. That's really awesome. I'm going to keep that and not get rid of it because it might help build subscribers. Anyway, let's cruise over here and see if you guys got any questions to ask. Oh, good. We're all still talking about that. Everybody's happy that that fucker is gone. That was a beautiful chat. Goldberg's still over. He skipped about 11 years. Sign that kid. Yeah. Okay, so now we're on to Goldberg's kid. He looked a lot like him, man. And it's only going to get worse or better, you know, like he's still super young. So imagine when he gets older, starts filling out. He's going to look exactly like Bill Goldberg did when Goldberg had hair anyway. Yeah. See, oh, yeah. Kevin Owens came up as champ and beat Cena. Yeah, he did. Like, there's been instances of that. I think even Sami Zayn might have appeared, but maybe not as NXT champion. But, like a year or so, a couple years ago, they brought up Gargano randomly, right? And Adam Cole, I think, randomly. Who else? And it was just kind of like random. And you're like, why the fuck are they doing this? And then they all like went back there. So there just doesn't seem to be a reason to bring Karrion Kross up. Why right now? You can bring him up. I'm all for the call up. But why at the time that they did, that was random, that was weird. It was bringing them there just for the sake of bringing them there. Maybe they thought fans were back. We need to add some new faces or something like that. But I don't even think you needed to do that. Just let Kross finish up his business and his storylines down there and don't do anything on Raw to fuck up the perception of him so they can go into that match with, you know, and draw some eyeballs. And it just feels like they've ruined it. Like now it's not going to be that big of a surprise or a big deal to see Samoa Joe beat Karrion Kross because he's lost twice on Raw when he was pretty much an undefeated monster up until this point, until WWE got their greasy fucking mitts on him and fucked him all up. Now, when Joe chokes him out, it's going to be cool because I like Joe and it's going to be cool to see him be NXT champion again, but it's not going to be a big deal because Kross losing is a regular thing now, not a special thing. They didn't even make it special. They had a chance to. Anytime you have somebody go on a run like that or they're undefeated for a long time, save it. So when that loss happened, it's like, holy shit, you know, that's a big deal. And they've ruined it all because of that. It just sucks, man. It sucks so bad. WWE apologists. I haven't been reading any WWE. I don't care about any apologist shit at all. I think tribalism is stupid. I think wrestling fans should hope for good product from both companies. And doing anything else and anything other than that is just stupid. So we don't give it any mind here on the channel. Isaac Roa, thanks for the $2. WWE has announced a passing. Who? Well, I don't see that. So at least not on Twitter. Iron Minotaur, thank you for the $5. Of course, Vince totally knows what he's doing. He'll get Adam Cole to do some stupid gimmick because it's Vince. Well, that might not be the case because Adam Cole apparently is going to be a free agent. He is not, unless he's re-signed his contract today or something. There's been no report of that. So Vince does not have Adam Cole by the balls the way he has some other talent. And Adam Cole has the opportunity to say bye-bye to that. So if Adam Cole re-signs, then yes, Vince is probably going to do something stupid. I don't think he's going to give him a stupid gimmick because I don't think he'll change his gimmick. I just don't think they're going to use Cole on the main roster to his potential at all. And a lot of that is due to his size. And I think he's a better fit in terms of being a top star, top contender for the title in AEW. NXT, he's the epitome of running its course. His faction ran its course. He had a long title run. He's done everything there is to do. He's worked with everybody. He's had a good, healthy, long, successful run in NXT. At this point, it's AEW or main roster. Those are really his two options. And to me, it seems like a no-brainer. Not to speak for Adam Cole. I'm not going to judge him whatever he does because I'm sure there's going to be some assholes that if Cole decides to stay in WWE, they're going to say that he's stupid. And why would he do that? He must be an idiot. I'm like, well, he's loyal and all. And on top of that, they have treated him well, very well. And Sean and Hunter love him and stuff, but that's not going to translate much on the main roster. He's going to be he's going to be subject to that type of bullshit, and hopefully he knows that, and he just gets the hell out of there. I think AEW is the better place for him, but that's from a wrestling fan's perspective, not from Adam Cole's perspective. I think it's the best place for us for him to be because I know we can get a lot of awesome Adam Cole shit in AEW. There's endless storylines in that company with the people already there that he has history with. Endless. He's walking in with years of shit ahead of him to do. Where in WWE, what the fuck? He just lose to Jeff Hardy in his first week? Oh, gee, I wonder which one I'll pick. So to me, it seems like he's gone. And if he was going to stay, he'd already resigned. That's my view on it. That's my take on it. But we'll see. I'm hoping I want him to do what he wants. I want him to do what makes him happy. But selfishly, I'd also like to see him somewhere where I can be, creatively fulfilled by what he's doing. And I think that place is AEW. If anybody knows what Isaac was talking about earlier with the super chat about the passing, I'd like to know that. I saw nothing on the Twitter. Hopefully everything's okay there. Zane, thanks for 5 more from you. Do you see Flair wrestling in AEW much like Sting? We talked about that earlier. No, I hope not. He absolutely better not, should not. No. He's just way too old. Just can't. I think he should just be there to show his face, be a personality. You got to do something with the Horsemen. I don't think they can use the Horsemen, but you got Tully, Arn, and Rick there. You toss in a Barry Windham or who the fuck else? Sid. What's Sid up to? Surprised they haven't called him and had him come in. Can't really bring Luger in. I don't even know where Paul Roma is. He's probably living in the mountains somewhere. Don't know who you could bring in as a Horseman. Malenko, I guess. He was a Horseman with McMichael and Benoit. So yeah, I guess you can do some sort of Horseman tease or some sort of Horseman nostalgia throwback type of segment here and there. I think will be a lot of fun. Maybe even Ric Flair having something to do with Cody, talking to Cody, citing his history with his dad and all that shit. Might be kind of nice too. I don't know where Ric Flair would fit in, but just him being on TNT with so many guys from WCW and the NWA. Sting is another guy I think would be interesting and kind of heartwarming for an older fan. If you're 20, you're not going to understand. You're just not. But if you're 40, it's a different story, and I think a lot of us would like to see that. I don't know who, Jody Hamilton. Oh, okay. Thank you for that, Iron Minotaur. Yeah, he was one of the assassins, I guess. Who else is saying that? Well, that's interesting. Assassin was fucking St. Louis, I think. Big there. Crazy. Well, that's a shame. He was old, though. Don't know how old he was, but I know he was old. Okay, thank you for that, Iron Minotaur. Jody Hamilton is known as Assassin. Passed away. That is who Isaac is referring to. Yeah, all I did was look on Twitter. He said WWE announced a passing. It must be on their website. But I went to Twitter, didn't see it. So I was like, I don't know what that's about, and I hope it's nothing too bad. But that's sad. That's a bummer. But at least that's not a tragedy. He was an old man. That's a T-shirt right there, Domination Warrior. It's 40, and if you're 40, it's a different story. It really is, because you can't explain this shit to kids. They don't get it. So it's not the best place. I'm like, man, you don't fucking remember shit. Come talk to me when you watch Andre the Giant get body slammed by Hulk Hogan live before you tell me where people should and shouldn't be. Adios, Zane. Thank you for being here. Yes, Tommy Smith. I would very much like to see Wyatt in AEW. I think he'd be fabulous there. Flair, a manager for Britt Baker. Interesting. Oh, that would be interesting. I mean, what do you guys think? I mean, what's Charlotte's contract status? Is she somebody that would ever do this? Dad's there. Andrade's there. She's got all this fucking momentum from WWE. I think they're going to, she seems like she's somebody like Cena that's probably just never going to leave. But hell, everybody else is going. What would the fans think of that if she went over there and infiltrated that locker room? Oh, God. Flair comes in with Wyndham Rotunda. Maybe. I mean, he's got the, a little bit of history with Wyndham, but I feel like Bray Wyatt coming as Wyndham Rotunda, his character and how he presents himself wouldn't fit with Flair. It would be weird looking. Mike Witt, Tripp was great. Ronda was right about today's wrestling fans. Yeah, I talked about that earlier. Ronda was right about today's wrestling fans, but she's not right about that being the reason that Wyatt was released. It was a very odd statement. I'm the first one to blame the fans for shit because their stupidity can really shine sometimes, but they had nothing to do. This is not on them at all. And their behavior and their desire for Bray Wyatt to be used better and them voicing their displeasure with that sometimes, and some of the other assholes out there that can, personally attack people and be so mean-spirited and so ugly and all of that, they exist. That's all very much a thing, but that's not the reason that he was shit-canned, at least not in my mind. So I just thought it was a take that I didn't agree with. I just don't think that it's applicable in that situation. That's all. No, you could, Deshaun, you could have Malachi attacking Ric Flair. I'm not sure if I'm going to have Flair taking bumps, though, I just don't know. I have no idea what they were going to do. But, Black and Cody, I think, have got their own story without Rick. I feel like Rick isn't going to be as involved as a Sting. I'm not sure if he's going to be a full-blown manager or somebody. I don't know. I just don't know. But, man, you got some legends there. Think about it now. Tully and Arn and Taz. You're going to have Flair there. Jake Roberts is there. I know I'm missing somebody else. Vicky Chavo. Vicky and Chavo. Lots of legends there. Dean Malenko works backstage along with many others. They got a good team there. They got a bunch of people there that certainly know what they're doing. In terms of actual wrestling people. Fans have always believed and wished the WWE had more of that going on, instead of writers who don't know the names of the champion. Instead, back in the day, the writing was pretty decent when it was like Cornette and stuff and guys like that, because at least they understood wrestling, Pat Patterson, being involved and stuff. But now in WWE, they just got writers from fucking various talk shows and stupid ass TV shows and stuff. Like, it's ridiculous. So having a team of people that have a ton of history and experience in wrestling is not really a very bad idea, internally inside of a wrestling company. So they got good people there. I think Charlotte will likely be a WWE lifer too. That's what I would have said 3 days ago. But based on everything, I don't know. I'm very interested to know her contract status. She's probably locked in till 2024 or something like that. But in the event that she's not, it would be interesting to see how that plays out. I think if she left, it wouldn't be because of any mistreatment. It would probably just be because, I'm going to go over there. They got a bunch of money. I can be with my boyfriend or my fiance. My dad's there and all of that. And, maybe. But I tend to agree with you. She's staying put. Yeah, Charlotte has done everything, but at the same time, building a legacy is pretty, interesting. WWE, she's going to break her dad's title victory, and she's going to do that all in WWE. So it would be interesting if Rick went to AEW, managed Britt Baker or something, and then Charlotte jumped over there and like, hey, I want, would be fun, wouldn't it? Certainly would. Oh, Charlotte's fantastic. People don't like Charlotte just because she wins all the time, so then they start twisting it and say, I don't understand the hype. She's very good. I guarantee you, when she first came in and beat the shit out of Nikki Bella and won the title, you were screaming at the rooftops. You only turned on her because everybody did, and WWE really hammers her, up her asses, which I can understand. But to pretend that she's not really, really, really good is really, really stupid. So don't do that. Sasha going to AEW before Charlotte, yeah. She's probably locked in too, most likely. When do we get to the point where AEW signs too many people? When they sign everybody. The problem is right now, Stone Cold, is everybody that's available is big, huge, valuable talent. It's one thing when you release a slew of people, and like maybe Matt Cardona, it's not like they've signed him, and they haven't signed everybody that's been released. You don't see Ever Rise. on TV, this week or whatever, in the main event of Dynamite or anything. They're taking who's valuable. You can't take everybody. It just happens to be right now that everybody who is available is extremely fucking valuable. You want every one of these motherfuckers. You want Bryan, you want Punk, you want Wyatt, you want Flair's personality on TV, and you definitely want Adam Cole. Even bringing in all those guys, of course, you're going to have the people that conflate that with, just WWE cast-off. So let me tell you, if Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson and CM Punk all show their faces in that company in the next month, you can stick that cast-offs narrative up your butt, because that is definitely not the case now. There are people that are going there by choice, and it's not like what TNA did where they just grabbed every single piece of talent they could that WWE brushed off. They're not doing that. They're taking the ones that have value. Malachi Black should be there. Miro should be there. Wyatt should be there. Cole should be there. Punk should be there. There's lots of guys that should, but not everybody, And that's why, some of these releases, you don't need to see them there. And I don't believe they're doing that. They're taking the talent that can be used right. They're taking the talent that can be exciting. And they're taking talent that's good. And I think that's awesome. And they're only going to grow. They got a second show now. Rampage, you got to support that show. You got Dark and Elevation, and you've got side shows that you can showcase your up-and-coming talent, your young talent, your indie talent coming in from various places, and then you can have your big shows that can showcase the more well-known wrestlers. It's not a gigantic talent pool. Every wrestling company here in the U.S. has the same pool of wrestlers to choose from. So this idea that, they're just WWE cast-offs, I'm like, where do you think these people are coming from? Go back and look at WWE's roster. I've made this point a million times. Look at the roster in 1996. Who was there? Cactus, Vader, Johnny B. Bad, Goldust, or Dustin Rhodes, Steve Austin, Brian Pillman. Half the WCW fucking locker room from 2 years prior was in WWE, and vice versa. Who did WCW have? Hogan, Nash, Hall, Savage, Bossman, Earthquake. Honky was in and out, or Honky was there for a second. Hacksaw Jim Duggan. All these guys were just coming in, and the talents just crossed all the time. That's what we're seeing now. But to the young audience that have the wrestling knowledge of a fucking gerbil, all misconstrue that as, they're just WWE, just taking everybody WWE. And where the fuck do you think wrestlers come from? And AEW does an excellent job, something that TNA was very bad at, of utilizing their own talent along with already established talent. Most weeks on AEW Dynamite, when you look at their ratings, their highest rated segments are AEW guys, are your Kenny Omegas, are your Orange Cassidys, are your Darby Allins, and shit like that. Are your Elite. Bucks, Young Bucks, another example. They all draw the highest numbers, so it's not just former WWE guys that are dominating that TV at all. Anybody who thinks that is willfully blind, because that is certainly not what's going on there. And you need established guys. You need guys. And if WWE is too dumb to use somebody that's got all the talent in the world, why wouldn't you bring them in? And unfortunately now the fans are so fucking opinionated, and they're so anxious to get out an opinion before thinking it through. They just use these flimsy-ass narratives that can be easily disproven. Easily. And I don't think any of that is really the case. I'm not passing on any of these guys. I'm bringing them all in. WWE releases Jackson Riker. I'm probably not signing him. WWE releases Angelo Dawkins. I'm probably not signing him. I'm probably not even signing Chad Gable, to be honest, even though he's fucking awesome. Not signing everybody that gets released, if they get released. But there are certain guys you just simply can't ignore. So everybody that's been rumored to come in, that's a lot of names. Bryan, Punk, Wyatt, possibly Cole, Flair. Who knows who else? That's exciting shit, man. And hopefully they can handle it. Now 2.0. We'll be on AEW tomorrow. Well, I'm proven wrong. Thank you for that, Deshaun Robinson. I even had a feeling. I'm like, I should look that up before I say it. So Everrise, I like that they're 2.0. That's interesting. They're going to be on AEW tomorrow. Good for them. They were funny. They were fun. But I wasn't expecting that. 94, 95 had Honky. I don't think 94, 95 WCW didn't have Jake. 92 WCW did. 95, by 96, Jake was back in WWE. I don't remember him coming in to WCW unless I'm really missing something or forgetting something. Honky was there, didn't go well in like 94, but I don't remember Jake. But I could be wrong on that. I just don't think so. Send Chad in New Japan. Yeah, don't forget about New Japan. What did I see? Help me out. Shit, Tanahashi's doing something, right? He's coming in, isn't he? That blew my mind. I got to play catch up on some of this stuff because that vacation really caused me to miss a lot. A lot of stuff. Maybe Bo Dallas will be on Dynamite. Could be, Mike. I don't know. Probably not. I wouldn't bet on that. Wouldn't bet. Man, my stream looks really dark. Thought I had some pretty good lighting in here. I just saw myself on the screen. Anywho, I am pretty much out of notes. We can kind of wrap this up now. I'm just kind of talking to you guys. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. Pretty decent audience after some pretty sad numbers prior to my vacation, so I'm glad that's kind of looking up. That's right, Archer, Lance Archer. I forgot. Yep. That's going to be good. I'm a little bit sick of hearing the Forbidden Door shit because how forbidden are these doors really? They're working with everybody. There's only one true Forbidden Door, and that's WWE, who just never will have the nuts to do anything like this. It's just so not what they do. And they're such sticklers like that. So they will probably not be a part of any of this. And I'm glad that AEW is doing that because that's exciting. You know, having Tanahashi come in and challenge for the U.S. title, that's awesome. He may very well win it. Take it back with him. I'd be into that. Tell Tony Khan to find Gulak. Did they cut Gulak? I completely forgot. Is Gulak in the company or not? I don't even know. I think he is gone. I'd like to see him come in. How Wheezy, trying to figure out the next stream because I'm back to work tomorrow and Saturday. I've got a really unflattering work schedule and a podcast is not going to be possible. So I know I'm going to be up here on Sunday, but if tomorrow night's Dynamite is really, really, really crazy, then I'll figure out a way to get up here on Thursday and do a quick review of it or something like that. Otherwise, I got to get back to work and kind of tie up some loose ends there. It's a busy season for me, get back to business. And then Sunday, probably won't do a watch along or anything. We're probably going to do a podcast and talk about whatever else is going on. If there's any more news or anything like that, we'll be doing some sort of a show on Sunday, just not sure what. And then once we get on the other side of September, on the other side of Labor Day, things are really going to even out for me and slow down for me at work, and I'm not going to be so balls to the wall, and we'll be able to resume a little bit normal of a schedule. But things are a little jacked. I was just on vacation. We're up here on a Tuesday, which is weird. And then in 3 weeks, I go to SummerSlam. So I'm going to be there, which kind of sucks. I'm going to miss doing a review that night, but I'll be back on Sunday to do one of SummerSlam prior to me going to Raw the next night. And since Raw is right here in San Diego and it's less than a 30-minute drive for me, I think Monday night, the Monday after SummerSlam, I'll still do a review. I'll do it when I get home. So I'll just be up an hour later, than I normally am. And I'll drive my ass home and I'll try to have everything set up and ready and link posted and all of that. And I'll come up and give you guys my rundown of what it was like to be at the show live. But it is going to be a little weird throughout the month of August and not totally, totally normal like it usually is in terms of consistency on, when we're up here and that sort of thing. It's only life, James Rosano, it's been 3 years since Enzo was released. Man, that little fucker I said earlier, I was at Survivor Series in 2018, and I saw him in the crowd. He jumped up and made a huge stink, and I was like, holy shit, that's Enzo. Didn't realize it's been 3 years now. Wow. Gulak is still there. Thank you. Happy early birthday, Bubbanator. 29 years old on August 20th. That's going to be a fun night of wrestling, man. Rampage, United Center. We got SmackDown that night too, but we are going to see CM Punk, and I'm excited for that. So, anywho, I don't want to strand nearly 300 people in the chat, but we've been talking for a long time, and I feel a little bit better that we've caught up everything that I've missed since my vacation. It was a hell of a week, and thank you, everybody, for being here this evening. Like I said, just stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe. Hit me with a follow over on Twitter because I will be up here discussing a lot as soon as I can, but since the schedule is going to be a little bit weird, I'll be putting a lot of those announcements over on Twitter, and I will make this audio available on the podcast site as well. So you'll be able to download that on the website if you would like, goodmicrocommentaries.com in just a little bit, or you can check it out, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, all that good shit. It'll be available there. Along with, I'm going to put up my SummerSlam 2005 review that I had released while I was on vacation. So if you guys haven't had a chance to see that yet, it's on my channel now. Just click over there, watch the SummerSlam 2005 review, and I'll throw the audio up on the podcast sites for that as well this week. So I think that does it for all the announcements. Thanks again for hanging out tonight, and I will catch you guys in just a few days to talk about more exciting stuff. Y'all have a great evening. Thanks a lot.